Hello, fellow homebrewers. JP here, and I want to introduce to you the brand new Brew-Built X1 Conical Series available at More Beer. More Beer sells the highest standard in homebrewing equipment, and the Brew-Built Conicals are just that. They're made from mirror-polished 304 stainless steel, and they come with loads of features that you and I have been looking for. They have a full 2-inch bottom dump valve, which will eliminate your clogging issues, while the sturdy base includes 4 reinforced legs, just like those big Pro tanks do. More Beer also carries the Brew-Built line of options and add-ons like casters, pressure kits, and even external glycol chillers. So you can find out more about the new Brew-Built X1 Conical Unitanks by going over to morebeer.com for detailed videos on the entire line of Brew-Built Conicals. You can trust Brew-Built with your next fermentation, and you can trust More Beer to find the right conical for you. Brew-Built at morebeer.com.
Today's Sunday session is brought to you thanks to the fine folks at More Beer. Visit them right now at morebeer.com.
I poured it in my mouth and it just wasn't going down.
My first beer was an IPA, the best IPA I've ever drank, mostly because I brewed it.
If you have a scale that is good for measuring cocaine, you're probably good for measuring hops on cocaine.
You're scaring me.
I think the information is awesome and the audio sucks.
Make some sugary water, throw some yeast in there.
And you're going to drink good beer.
Yeah, it's going to be good. It's fine.
God damn it, man. Oh, my God.
Now, live from the Brewing Network studios in Northern California, this is the radio program for home brewers, craft brewers, beer lovers, and beer geeks. It's your only source for live beer radio that brings expert brewers together with, well, expert drinkers. This is the radio program with a head on it. This is The Session.
Good evening, everybody. Here we are, another Monday. Another fine Monday in Concord, where we get to talk about beer and drink it, which I think is pretty cool.
We get to.
We have to, actually. I think it's mandatory.
Right.
Yeah.
It feels more like I have to.
Doc's here.
And Doc's Hey.
Hi, Doc.
Hi, Doc.
You got a beer and everything, too. Look at you. You're ready to go, man. You need headphones.
Well, he has to drink beer. We just went over this.
Right, Doc. Weren't you here? Oh, shit. He wasn't here, though.
Oh, yeah. Right. Absolutely nothing.
Maybe, but that's all right.
No, we just started.
Yeah.
What's up, everybody? We have a really cool show for you guys today. Colin Kaminski is back in the studios.
The studios. Colin, how you doing, man?
Good. Thank you for having me again.
Of course. It's been, like 100,000 years, I think, since you were on.
I was looking into it. I think it's been about 3.5 years.
Wow.
I think. Maybe it's 2.5. I don't know. It was fall. A long time ago.
Knowing you'd probably know, like, the temperature and the time and all that stuff. It was probably was it in Justin's house, or was it in Martinez?
No, it was at Downtown Joe's.
Was that Downtown Joe's?
Yeah.
Oh.
Right.
But back when I used to be able to drink like a fish on the air and get a ride home.
No, you can't do that.
No, I can't do that. I've got to be good today.
Yeah, you rolled in. You're like, I tried to get a ride, and nobody give you a ride, huh?
No, I couldn't quite score one. So
that's too bad.
Yeah, I don't know. $100. Yeah.
So
there you go.
$100.
So
yeah, Uber costs $100 apparently. Should have taken Uber according
just
to
one way. Just one way.
Getting out of Napa is $100 usually.
That's a lot, man.
What about getting in?
I don't. I think they pay the Uber guys to drop people off in downtown Napa. How much money you got?
Should bring everybody into Napa, man. Why not?
We have an active tourism board.
Yeah, highly active. They're proactive, is what they are. In fact. That's cool, man.
I was just going down the street. How'd I end up in Napa?
Yeah. I'm from Fairfield. What the fuck's going on?
Someone call it kidnapping. But,
yeah.
But we call it tourism.
Yeah.
Right,
yeah. Active tourism.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to be talking to you, Colin, and we're going to be talking about enzymes. And then we're also talking about water, of course, because that's your kind of thing, right?
You
like
know,
the water
sort of become my thing. Don't know how.
I think we made it in that thing.
I think you did, Doc.
If I can't, I don't. Sorry.
Colin's camera is currently facing the table.
Thank God.
Hopefully it didn't see anything it wasn't supposed to.
It was a pretty amazing shot, let me tell you.
It's a translucent camera. It's fine. You'll be all right. All right. Well, before we get to all the fun stuff, we do have to go through all of our, pre-show spiel, I suppose, mainly saying thanks to our sponsor, More Beer. Go to morebeer.com and get absolutely everything you need to make great beer at home. They are the sponsors of this show. They've been a sponsor of the Brewing Network since day one. I think they've been pretty much our most vocal supporter. And, we thank them, man. We definitely wouldn't be where we are, wherever that is, without the support of More Beer. And, of course, Colin and I share More Beer in common. We both worked there. And
Chris Graham introduced me to Justin. That's how I got on the first show.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
you're both huge successes in your field, so congratulations.
Well, Colin actually makes good beer.
Oh no, I was
Yeah.
I was only supposed to be that was only supposed to be degrading to JP.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Says the woman behind the glass.
It's like a ceiling.
What does she do back there?
She shops on Target.
It's the best job she's ever had.
I do.
Yeah.
I shop.
She plays Words with Friends.
Not very well.
Not very well.
I don't spell very well.
No.
Very good.
Master of three-letter words.
Yeah, hella.
That's 4.
Well, who knows? Who can
I'm real
even
good at
say?
those too.
Yeah, she does fine. Bev does a fine job.
She does a great job.
Yeah, I suppose.
At Words with Friends?
At Words with Friends.
No, I'm still terrible at that.
Yeah, so thank you to More Beer. And in fact, thank you to all of our sponsors. We literally wouldn't be here without all of them. So anybody you hear on the show tonight via commercial or live in studio, definitely hit them up, order anything that they have to sell, and then thank them, please, for being a part of the Brewing Network, because we rely on them to, to keep the show going, man. So, hit them up, support the people who support us. That'd be really great. You can also support us by doing your Amazon shopping via our link that's on our homepage, as well as hitting up the store and buying some Hella Sick merch. We do have Hella Sick merch. And then I don't know. That's about it. Justin always has like 5-minute spiel for the sponsors and stuff to come on, but before we get to the good stuff. But I don't.
You mean a rant?
I mean a rant. Yeah.
Did I hear Pico Brew's a sponsor?
Pico Brew, yeah, Pico Brew's a sponsor.
I kind of like that. I've always wanted to see one of those systems.
Really?
It's at my house now.
Yeah, it's at Doc's house right now.
I see them online, and I've had beer out of them. I've had really nice beers out of them.
Yeah, I haven't made any nice beer out of them.
Well,
but
really?
Yeah.
I don't hold that against the Pico Brew.
It's nothing to
that.
People go, oh, I've never really had beer out of the Pico Brew. Well, how does it, how does it taste? I don't know. It tastes like shit to me, but that's my fault. It's not the system's fault. And actually, the last 2 batches I've brewed, one, leaked out of the keg, and then the other is still sitting in the carboy from August.
Oh, yeah.
Probably not good. That's
in your closet?
Grodzitsky.
Yeah.
I've seen it running in the More Beer showroom, like on Saturdays and stuff, and it's over there just kind of doing its thing. And I wanted to try it for a while, and so I've got to set up and getting ready for this weekend coming up. I'm going to do probably a double batch.
Oh, yeah.
I can't see having 2.5 gallons of beer.
Well, it's great for you, man, because you are, very much attracted to shiny things.
Yeah.
So it needs, maybe 5 minutes of your time in chunks, and that's it.
Yeah.
And you can go off and do whatever his Doc does on the weekend. Mm-hmm. What does Doc do on the weekend?
I can't say that.
Everything.
A little bit of this, a little bit of that.
You're contractually bound not to say anything?
No, it's just a stupid idea for me to say that kind of stuff.
Fair enough, man. Look, if you want, I'll hook it with Annie over there at Pico Brew, because they're looking for breweries to try the thing out.
I still am trying out the water chemistry kit that got loaned to me, so.
Oh, really?
Still evaluating it?
But I've been evaluating it for 3 months. Done about 9 tests in 3 months.
Well, that's you, I think, right?
You're very thorough.
I just get busy and get sidetracked and then forget to do it. And
oh, okay.
Then it's too late in the brew process, and it's like, I'm in a hurry. I'm just going to use the system I know, because I've got all that equipment that I use all the time.
Oh, okay. I just figured, like Warren said, you're just very thorough about it.
Well,
I think that's the other half, probably.
I certainly wouldn't want to say, oh, it's really great, and then only give it a half-ass try.
Yeah.
And so, I really am interested in it. You have to buy an app for your phone, and it all links to your phone. And I don't remember who makes it offhand, but
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but a bunch of tests involved with water, and it has all the right tests.
Yeah,
and they're more accurate than I need, which is good.
That's great.
Yeah,
I guess it's always better to have more data than less, right?
Well, yeah, right. I mean, I need to know plus or minus 2 ppm or 3 ppm, and it'll go down to 1, no problem.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Well, let us know how it works out in 6 months or whatever.
Yeah, right. And what it's called.
Yeah, what it's called.
Yeah.
I'm sure a bunch of people that talk to me about it all the time are going, it's called this, you moron.
Is it the iDip?
Yeah, it's the iDip.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
exactly what it is.
Yeah, they're sponsors on the show, too. I've used that thing. It's great.
Yeah.
Right now, Brian Cooper, who's my co-host on Dr. Homebrew, is using it with his club, the Mad Scientist down in Livermore. I think the thing's awesome. I think it's really cool. And I think you'll dig it. It's super easy.
Right now I just do titrations, which I'm familiar with. I've done so many freaking hundreds of them that it's really fast. I don't even have to think. I can just run in and do it.
Yeah.
I mean, with the iDip, I'm still reading the directions every time.
Well, there's a learning curve with with everything, but it's cool. I'd really be interested to hear your feedback, even off the air, if you want. It's I think it's a cool system. So, and those guys are everywhere. I was talking the other day. They're doing 7 trade shows this year.
Nice.
Like they're going to Europe and doing a couple shows, and they're just going to everything.
Country Malting gave me one to play with.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. Awesome. Okay, let's get to some feedback.
Yay.
I need to find that song, Doc. I need to find your song.
Pull your phone out. We'll do it again, just like last time.
Just do that again.
Yeah, that'll be amazing.
Bring your banjo.
You should bring your banjo.
Yeah, do it live.
Learn it.
Yep.
And then bring it.
Put that in the things that won't happen column.
Right.
All right, this is from Ken in Milwaukee. He says, hello, BNers. My apologies if this is a topic that has previously been covered. I've been wondering about the effects of steeping flame-out hops in IBU calculations. It's commonly agreed that there is an IBU contribution from steeping hops at flameout. Beersmith even will calculate the IBU contribution based on steeping time. What I'm wondering is, won't the other hop additions made earlier in the boil also contribute additional IBUs to the beer, and these IBUs are not being calculated anywhere, thereby throwing off your numbers? Say, for instance, I have a 1-ounce addition of a particular hop at 10 minutes left in the boil, and from that, let's say I get 15 IBUs. Now, that 10-minute addition will be steeping at flameout with the flameout hops and all other hop additions for whatever period of time I steep, thereby pulling out additional IBUs from these hops. Is that not true? Should I not concern myself with this? Or if I'm planning to do a 40-minute steep out flame out hops, cut back on my other hop additions in order to account for this? Ken really needs to really
use
wants the answer.
Use periods.
He's already got it. Common sense tells him what to do, I'm sure.
Yeah.
He knows?
The 60-minute edition doesn't really change because it's all isomerized.
Well, yeah, that's
but a 3-minute or a 30-minute will.
Sure.
It'll change a little.
It's not boiling, though, so I mean, it's a different utilization.
Right.
But there is utilization, though.
Right.
I'd be more worried about letting it sit hot like that in the DMS.
As long as it's above 186, is that the temperature? I think as long as it's above 186, you're still driving off DMS.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never seen a Whirlpool go below 190.
I don't let mine go below 200. Yeah.
Okay.
200, I transfer out. I get nervous about it and transfer out.
Yeah.
I think that it might not be factored into those calculations, but it's only a difference of a few IBUs probably.
Exactly.
So
I don't know. I mean,
the difference between sitting
a 10-minute addition at boil for 10 minutes, and then same 10-minute addition at rest for like a Whirlpool rest for 20. Yeah, that means something. Sure.
Yeah, but 3 to 5 IBUs.
Right,
exactly.
Right.
That's barely
and
over,
that's
over
right,
the flavor threshold.
Right, exactly. That's right at some people's.
The flesh change.
Yeah.
Beersmith probably should tell you.
Yeah, I think it does make a difference, but I think you probably have other things that you should be worrying about.
Yeah, there's other things affecting your hop utilization.
Yeah.
Well, in the end, it's which your fit 10 IBUs at 10 minutes is not everybody else's 10 IBUs at 10 minutes.
Exactly.
So
right.
Just act accordingly. You taste the beer, and you go, "Wow, that's a lot of flavor. I expected more of this, more of that." Well, you just know that maybe you are getting more, and just say, well, instead of making 50 IBU pale ales, I better think more about making 40 IBU pale ales. Get what I want.
And that's true. But I think what he's also wondering is, and maybe nobody knows this, I don't know, is Beersmith adding those that additional utilization into the calculations?
I doubt it. When all the math I've looked at in these programs doesn't. Yeah. But I haven't looked at Beersmith directly. So.
I don't think there's a hard number for what the whirlpool utilization is. I mean,
it would depend on the temperature curve.
In the vessels.
Yeah.
Everything.
And even those...
But also, if you're doing IBUs that accurately, if you're trying to get your IBUs down to 1 or 2 points, then the surface area of the kettle to the volume is going to change it too. Because the oil stick to the wall of the kettle. And how much trube you generate is going to affect it. Because it sticks to the trube, too.
Like I said.
Yeah. Utilization is a hard thing to
your
calculate.
Your 50 IBUs isn't everybody else's 50.
Exactly. And do the math, get your recipe built, then fix it.
That's right.
Those formulas just get you in the ballpark. They're not going to be exact like, Beersmith said my beer has 40 IBUs in it, so if I go to a lab, it's going to say 40 IBUs.
When I send beers to the lab, they're not even close to my calculations. So they're off by 15 IBUs.
Yeah. And then you're okay with that.
And I'm great, because I've built the recipe by flavor, not by math.
Right. So, I mean, IBUs are... I mean, there was a time in the early 2000s, maybe late 90s, where people started learning what IBUs were as a casual beer drinker, and that somehow made everybody a beer expert, and that's what everyone was driving for. Like, how many IBUs are in this beer, not how bitter does it taste, or how hoppy is it.
And I think Cicerone has done a great job of trying to turn that tide. Because they have the perceived bitterness is what they teach. Okay. They don't care at all about IBUs. They care about perceived bitterness.
Good. That's cool. Okay, awesome. Well, Ken in Milwaukee, I hope we answered your question, man. But I guess to answer your question, don't worry about it. Just don't worry about it. Paul from Australia says, I just heard your episode on Eagle Rock Brewing about people having podcast issues. For example, Pizza Port being in the last episode available. I had the same issue on Android, but I figured it was at the very bottom of the podcast list near the 2005 episodes. I hope this helps other BN folk. Cheers, Paul. Apparently there's someone in the chat room was saying that Jay needs to add some little code at the bottom or a date in the XML to whatever. Anyway, if you're an iTunes listener and you're having problems finding the shows, just go all the way to the beginning. Apparently they're hiding their pre-shows, the pre-BN shows.
Oh.
Yeah, which is nice.
While we're talking about technical complaints.
Okay, yeah.
I can't get in the chat room on my iPhone.
That sucks.
I have to be on a PC. I like hanging out in the chat room. It's more fun than listening to the show.
Well, that's true. Everyone in the chat room will agree with you. I tell you what, during the break, we'll get some candles, we'll drop the lights, and we'll have a seance, and we'll try to contact Steve Jobs.
Okay.
And see if we can get him to solve the problem. He'll know. He'll be like, yeah, I know. I fucking fucked you guys over.
Can't you just forward the feedback to him?
He's already heard enough of my feedback.
That's true. This one is from OJ. Now, I don't know
which OJ.
I don't know which OJ. In my mind, there's only one OJ. Yeah,
I didn't know he was a fan of the show.
This is from OJ.
He's got nothing else to do.
He's got a lot of time.
He really doesn't have anything else to do except dodge shanks.
Yeah, and other things.
I really want to read it in my OJ voice, but I've retired that. This says, Justin, great spring brews fest. I met some cool people and had some great beers that I would not have had a chance to try without the fest. On the cool people note, in the middle of the fest, I lost my phone. A good Samaritan named Scott found it and turned it in. Scott saved me from a major headache and hassle. Just goes to show the kind of people attending your events, as I don't think that would have happened anywhere else. I agree. There's some nice people in Concord, that's for sure.
Yeah, it was a great crowd.
Yeah.
Well behaved, and
it really was.
I'm not surprised people would turn their phone in.
I didn't see anybody really trashed at all.
I saw one broad being helped around, but that was nice. She wasn't left on her own. She was being helped around. She clearly had a DD, or at least someone. She had a handler.
Yeah,
and it was fine.
I was handling a few.
She wasn't unruly. She didn't get out of control. She wasn't belligerent or anything like that. And look, we drink beer, for good flavor, but a side effect is we get hammered, and that's fine. That's okay to get drunk these days, people. But
hammered happens.
Hammered does happen.
Well, you got to plan that into the day,
right?
Yeah.
And she did, apparently. But yeah, it was great. It was a good fest. People were awesome, man. This one is from Jim. Jim with a Y.
Okay.
Where does the Y go?
Who knows?
Oh.
Or is it
JYM?
GYM.
G. Oh.
Who's Jim? Fellas and Bevo, related to the feedback about the Drake's sponsorship this past week, I wanted to mention that on a recent trip out your way from Virginia, I planned it around Brewing Network ads. I managed to hit Moylan's, Heretic, Downtown Joe's, Creek Monkey, met a nice man at the bar that day who'd just been fired, good times, Drake's, 21A, EJ Fair, More Beer, and the Hop Grenade. The dude working the counter at More Beer was pretty stoked that I stopped in, all great places. Speaking of More Beer specifically, I've made slight changes to recipes just in the interest of buying from them as opposed to other folks due to their sponsorship and lightning fast shipping. Keep kicking ass. Cheers, Jim. That's cool, man. I like it. People are changing the way that they brew. Maybe for the worse. Who knows?
Just to
because
shop
of
at
us.
More Beer.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That's great. Thanks.
And then last but not least, Ryan writes in. He says, JC or JP? Unsubscribed, subscribed, deleted all the episodes, restarted. Nothing has updated since 2/22/16 for the Sunday session, even in the podcast search. I heard you mention this from another email on feedback on the show. Potentially a bigger problem. See screen, whatever. Can someone verify on your end? I don't know, Ryan. I don't use iTunes. I don't work in iTunes. People are getting it. People are getting the show.
I think it's because a date wasn't added to them when Just had uploaded them, so they're being put at the beginning.
They're being put at the very beginning, right? So that might be your problem, Ryan. Check there. The end.
Check back at the beginning.
Check back at the beginning. Always go to the beginning, Warren. If you get lost, start over.
That's a very good place to start, I hear.
Thank you. Do we have a Twitter game, Warren?
Of course we do.
All right, Twitter. The Twitter game is brought to you by the Beer Law Center. John Sitzmankiewicz, I believe is how you pronounce it. He's a really nice guy, handsome, wears a bow tie, lives in the South, but don't hold that against him. He's here to protect your trademark, your logo, all that kind of stuff, copyright issues that you have maybe with other people, other entities, and that doesn't have to be just breweries, but he specializes in beer law. So check him out, beerlawcenter.com. Nice dude. Follow him on Facebook too, because he likes to post articles about things that impact us as beer drinkers and brewery owners, for those of you out there, and he's a good dude. So check him out, beerlawcenter.com. He can help protect your trademark like he does with the Hop Grenade.
So with Colin in studio, it got me thinking. Right?
Warren,
it's always no one likes it. Now that the Hop Grenade logo has recently changed, I'm wondering what the new BN discount is going to be. Since the tattoo doesn't match anymore. It used to be people have a Hop Grenade tattoo, right? And
the tattoo artists that did all of the grenades for the locals that were taking advantage of it, these are people that had never brewed, had no idea what the Hop Grenade was about, had never heard of the BN, just heard that if you got this tattoo, you got a discount.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
No, that's what ended it. And there was about 10 guys that did it, and they would hang out, and we'd have to babysit their kids. It'd be like 5 guys sitting at the table. Are you serious? And kids would be running all over the restaurant, and they'd be drinking dollar beers. And
God.
Finally, I had to talk to them, and the tattoo artist that did all the grenades is in jail. So
he's not mentioned that at one point.
I read about that.
Yeah.
Why is he in jail?
I don't want to talk about it.
Okay.
He deserves to be in jail forever.
Wow.
He hasn't been convicted yet.
He did really bad tattoo work.
Oh, right. He was
right.
tattooing like Japanese letters on girls and didn't think what it said that they
It said rice.
He was putting hop grenades on anybody who asked for one.
Ooh.
That should get him locked up for sure.
Yeah, so what's going to replace that? So as the new BN discount?
People with existing
Joe's.
Hop Grenade tattoos.
Come in and hang out with me, and I'll buy you free beers. How's that?
All right, well, I guess. All right, Colin wins the Twitter game. Yeah. Colin wins, everybody.
I think Colin just blew up your Twitter game.
Thanks for playing.
I love talking about beer. If you're talking with beer, want to hang out and talk about beer, I'll buy you beer.
Get there by 4, though.
Around 3:30, I turn into a pumpkin. So you got to be there in the day.
I'd like to be bought a beer from a pumpkin. I think that'd be kind of cool.
As long as it's not a pumpkin beer.
I like pumpkin beers.
Oh.
Ew.
So, okay, so the Twitter game.
A cloudy pumpkin IPA?
That'd be great. As long as it looks like a yeast pitch, I'm all right with that.
Right. Yeah.
So forgive me. The Twitter game is when you come in with a Hop Grenade tattoo, you can't get dollar beers anymore. So what do you get?
Well, no. What is it going to take to get the BN discount?
Oh,
now that the Hop Grenade tattoo doesn't work. What's the new way?
What's the new way to get a discount from downtown Joe?
Maybe another tattoo.
It's like a tattoo of like Colin, Colin, I don't know, building a rocket to the moon in his garage or something like that.
Maybe that would work.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I can see that.
So, let's figure it out.
I actually spent a year working on a ramjet. Come in with a tattoo of a ramjet.
What the hell's a ramjet? You launching rams into space?
Right. Really? You don't know what a ramjet is?
The old V2 missile engine?
The only ramming I do is between the sheets.
No, you're married. No.
Well, it hasn't been a year.
That's right. We can't make single JP jokes anymore. I've been away way too long.
Sure you can.
See what happens when you're gone?
I know. People get married.
Yeah. I know.
I guess I wasn't being enough of a bad influence on him. He went and got married.
That's true. I lost my mind and then I found it, apparently. Well, what's new with you, man? You have a kid.
I have...
and you have a kid on the way?
No, I have a 9-year-old and a 5-year-old, and I have one on the way. Yeah.
Wow.
Spread them out a little.
Yeah, right. That's my wife's fault. Yeah.
Okay, so we knew about the other two.
Yeah, but I have a new one. July, mid-July, mid to late July.
Is that the name? Mid-July?
Paisley Blue Kaminski.
Okay. You are a hippie, man.
My son is Denim Sky Kaminski, so Paisley Blue Kaminski seems like a good match.
And your dog, the oldest, what's the oldest name?
Kyla Anais.
Okay. That'd be great if her name was like Mary. Totally. You're like an artist. You're like a hip-hop artist in L.A. or something, right?
You know, I grew up with a unique name. When I was named Colin, there were no other Collins in the U.S., and so I was in my 20s before I met another Colin. I really liked it. I liked that feeling of being unique. I wanted my children to have the same opportunity.
You know, it took me a long time to meet a Jason. You wouldn't think that Jason... I wouldn't think the same thing about Colin. Yeah, it took me... I didn't go to elementary school, I think it was until middle school that I met another Jason. And I was like, wow, you have a cool name, too.
Were you homeschooled?
He's like, get away from me. No.
Oh.
I wasn't.
That's how we named both our kids. I didn't want to have a freakish, weird name that nobody ever have, but...
Like Moon Unit?
Yeah.
Like Moon
but,
I met Moon Unit.
But,
or Apple.
When we named Parker, there was no other Parkers. And then Bryson, there's no other Brysons.
Parker Lewis can't lose, dude. I used to watch him all the time.
It's
both good names.
They're great names.
Yeah, but it's not like I made something up and it's a weird name. But
it wasn't Dweezil.
Yeah. But I want them to have unique names for the same reason.
You didn't reach into a Scrabble bag and pull out tiles and be like, oh, that's it. It's Abacusarm. No, that's too bad.
No, we each got to pick names, and then I said, no, we're doing that one.
Actually, Heather came up with the name and then wanted to change it, and I made her stick to it.
Which one? Which you come with?
Paisley.
Paisley? Okay. Yeah. And then didn't she regretted that or something?
Well, no. She just...
thought about it?
Yeah, she's just like, oh, well, because when you're pregnant, you don't have a lot to do other than think of new names, right? I'm like, no, we already picked one. I'm not thinking about any more names.
See, to me, it's like picking out a name for a pet or something where you go... Sure, that Trumpy, great, perfect, and then you don't think about it ever again because it's just a cat. But I guess
but the pet you already know, so you can kind of get the whole.
Well, normal people, I think, wait till the baby's born to name it.
Well,
really?
Well,
normal people.
No, those nurses are like, sign this thing right there. Put the name on that. On the birth certificate. They want it done.
I've heard of babies going home. Baby Petros.
To be named.
To be named.
First of all,
how long can you
wait? Should never come out of your mouth. Unless you're talking about my family.
I think I might have gone home without a name. I'm the fourth out of 5 kids, and I got a lot of cousins, and so
all the names have been used.
Good names have been taken.
That's why you ended up with Doc.
Yeah.
Yeah, like how it took your parents days to pick out Scott.
Yeah, right.
I actually did.
I know. And I think that's
it wasn't
funny.
perfect, but it had to do.
Is there a deadline? Do you have to name them by a certain time, or can you?
Well, now they issue your Social Security card really early. And they really want that paperwork filled out before the baby leaves the hospital. And the nurses really do force that paperwork on every day.
Yeah, they're like, here, we really got to sign this today. We're going to sign this. I don't have a name yet. Yeah, we went through that with the second one. I was like, fine, okay, fine. Because I wanted a name, and she was fighting me on it. I still won.
Yeah, is that how you won? Because you're like, look, we don't have time for this. We have to pick a name now.
When I was a kid, you didn't get your Social Security card until you got your first job.
Oh, I remember going to
I was like 12 or 13.
Yeah, I was like 8 or something like that.
It wasn't like a year old kind of thing. It was 10, 12, something like that.
Yeah, that's... well, I started work when I was 12, so it was right around then.
That's when my parents made me go out and get a job.
That's not legal, is it? 12?
They told me that I had to hide in the walk-in. I was a dishwasher in a Mexican food restaurant 3 days a week for a couple of years. And they told me if the labor board came to hide in the walk-in, but they never came.
Right.
So...
Wow.
But every day it was like, am I going to have to hide in the walk-in today?
Well, then how could you get a Social Security? I mean, that means you were getting paid. Isn't there some sort of legality? You know, what are you getting paid for if you're not old enough to work? They never really
looked at that kind of stuff.
No, really?
It's still, if you look at my income statement, get that income statement every year.
Yeah.
If you look at it, it's still in those years. I mean, so it was being declared.
Huh.
Isn't it funny to look at all the different years and you're like, wow. And then I was making more money and then I hit college and then it dipped way down.
Yeah. Actually, I made the most money as a teenager until I started brewing. Yeah. And being a guitar maker wasn't good wages.
No? You think it'd be better than being a brewer?
No.
No?
I make 8 times as much money as I did then.
Oh, geez.
My highest paying job was in high school, so I peaked real early.
Yeah, you're done.
I was making like $75 an hour, and I had my friends working for me. I was running like a little slave shop. It was really cool. Making aftermarket BMW cup holders.
Slavery's never cool, first of all.
Well, it was like a slave shop.
Okay. Then
they got paid, just not as much as me.
Right. That's cool then. No. All right. Well, we're going to take a break here, and then when we come back, we're going to catch up a little bit more with Colin, and then we're talking. What are we talking, Colin? We're talking enzymes.
Actually, I'd like to go through the whole decision process of how to dry an IPA.
Sure.
So starting with sugar.
Okay. Yeah. So you Triple IPA people out there, stay tuned. Colin's going to drop some knowledge. It's The Session. Back after this.
You're listening to the Brewcasters. Brewcasters on the Brewing Network.
Say hello to my little friend.
You've heard about White Labs Pure Pitch yeast. Pure Pitch is yeast grown right in its final packaging. That means yeast that has never been exposed to the environment. And White Labs Pure Pitch yeast for homebrewers is now available to everyone at homebrew retailers nationwide. Easy to use, perfectly sized, and ready to pitch. White Labs yeast packaged using their Flex Cell process ensures the purest yeast on the market. Visit whitelabs.com to learn more about Pure Pitch, Flex Cell technology, and how it's created. Then visit a homebrew retailer near you for your own perfectly sized package of Pure Pitch yeast. And you can say hello to your own little friend. www.whitelabs.com.
The 21st Amendment.
Watch out!
Do you like beer? They make beer.
Watch out!
Do you like friends and fun? They make friends and fun.
Watch out!
Do you still like to have a good time? The 21st Amendment.
Watch out!
The 21st Amendment in San Francisco, located at 563 2nd Street, 2 blocks from the building where baseball is seen and played. Try their beers in the pub or try them in the can, featuring
Monk's Blood.
Made with real monk.
Watch out!
So why not have the best time of your life? Go to the 21A and Sean O'Sullivan will personally greet you with a can of
Monk's Blood. The 21st Amendment.
Watch out!
This advertisement is not in any way affiliated nor associated with the 21st Amendment Bar and Pub, nor its subsidiaries or affiliates. This telecast is not copywritten by the 21st Amendment for the private use of the Brewing Network. Any use of this telecast without Jamil Zainashev's consent is prohibited. Suck it, JP.
Grog tags aren't just for labeling your home brews to hand out to your friends. They're the perfect way to round out your personal brewing marketing. Bringing your latest beer to a funeral? Craft a metal sign to go with it. Heading out to little Liam's bar mitzvah? Grog Tag custom bottle caps are awesome. Couldn't get out of jury duty this year? Grog Tag the hell out of the deliberation room with reusable labels. Grog Tag has an awesome array of products just waiting to be customized by you. Metal signs, coasters, tasting mats, bottle caps, tap handles. It's all there waiting for your designs at Grog Tag. Liven up your next party with the widest selection of custom products ever offered by a sponsor of the Brewing Network. Grog Tag. At least your beer will look good.
Hey, my brewing brothers and sisters. This is Jamel Zanishev, and I want to tell you about Heretic Evil Twin. You might be familiar with my homebrew recipe, which uses massive late hopping to create a balance between the malty sweet and the hoppy bitter, along with an outrageous malt and hop character. I wanted a beer with the same bold hop and malt character, so we played around with the homebrew recipe until we were able to make a great commercial version too. We've created a beer rich in malt character, full of caramel, toast, biscuit, and an ever so subtle roast note. On top of that, we piled in an insane amount of Citra and Columbus hops at the end of the boil, as well as in dry hopping. This damn-the-cost approach to hopping gives Heretic's Evil Twin a great blast of citrus and tropical fruit that can't be matched by any other hop. The result is a bold, malty, hoppy, but easy-drinking beer. This is our top seller, our flagship beer, and I couldn't be prouder of it. Cheers.
To find Heretic beers near you, click on Find Some at hereticbrewing.com.
Since the first time the Brewing Network microphones turned on, More Beer was behind it. More Beer sponsors the programming on the BN because, like you, they love brewing. And like the Brewing Network, they love sharing their knowledge. Morebeer.com isn't just a website to place your next equipment or ingredient order. Morebeer.com also gives you access to free beer information that will make you a better brewer. Go to morebeer.com and click into the Learning Center. You'll find podcasts, technical facts, video tutorials, and more, including access to The Buzz, More Beer's social network of more than 5,000 members. And some of them might even be crazier about beer than you are. Get over to morebeer.com today and take advantage of The Buzz, the forum, the Learning Center, and make sure you're signed up to receive the newest More Beer catalog. More Beer, bringing you absolutely everything for beer making.
Marin Brewing Company in Northern California has been making award-winning beers for more than 25 freaking years. Today, I want to tell you about their new 12-ounce cans of Mount Tam Pale Ale. The good stuff, Mount Tam is bright gold, 5.5% ABV to keep you feeling good, and has been winning awards since 1989. If you're visiting the Bay Area, get your butt out to Marin Brewing Company. They pour tasty beers and serve great food every day until midnight. Come in for a tour, stay for the food, and pick up a 6-pack of cans of Mount Tam Pale Ale to enjoy at home, camping, biking, or whatever the hell you do. Owner Brendan Moylan has this to say about Marin Brewing beers.
It's freaking awesome.
Marin Brewing has won more than 100 gold medals in international competitions. Check out marinbrewing.com for all their award-winning beers, food, and merch. Marin Brewing Company in Larkspur, California. Award-winning taste, refreshing finish. It's freaking awesome.
Brewcasters are back. 888-401-BEER.
Whatever.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back. Before we get too far afield in here, we were talking, before the break about Beersmith. Listener wrote in with some feedback, questioning some Beersmith stuff. And, if you guys are interested in Beersmith, they do have a 21-day free trial. So it literally costs you nothing except a couple moments clicking and installing something and, maybe transferring a recipe over or two. But you can go to beersmith.com. Brad over there is working really hard at keeping that thing up to date and doing all the calculations that you don't want to do, which, let's face it, if you're anything like me, well, if you are, then you're making terrible beer and you should stop. But if you're anything like me, you don't want to do calculations, Beersmith will help. Check it out, beersmith.com, 21-day free trial. If you don't like it, you've literally lost nothing. So check them out, Beersmith. All right, Colin. We're here to talk triple IPAs.
Well,
why are we here talking triple IPAs? What's wrong with you?
Well, I kind of like big beers. Okay. But I like them to be dry, smooth, easy to drink. I like big beers that sneak down you.
Are there such a thing?
There are, but it's incredibly challenging to make.
His gravities go like below 1.
My gravity's going below 0. Yeah, this one's minus 1.4. Yeah. So
that's like
that's 0.996. I think. 0.994.
You're like in wine. You're in like red wine territory.
Yeah, into wine territory.
Yeah,
but the path has been really long. So to make a pale ale, I didn't need to do anything to dry it out. 5.5% pale ale.
Yeah, it should be totally...
California ale yeast, no problem, nice and dry. 148 mash temp, nice and dry, no problem. When I, 13 years ago, when I had to make it an IPA, make it at 6.5%, figured that was a good spot.
You had to? Like you were requested to make one, or you did because...
I thought it was an up-and-coming style. I wanted to be ahead of the curve, and so I started making it.
Okay.
And getting it to ferment dry in the beginning was difficult, and it turned out that having yeast health just nailed, you could do it. And it was a bit of variation batch to batch. And, now I don't even think about it. It's just like, make sure I've got enough healthy yeast. And
was that something that you had to plan for?
In the beginning it was. Now it isn't. Now I just, now I know pull the yeast off the cone, I know if it's going to work in my IPA.
So what kind of numbers were you getting in the beginning? And then what exactly did you do about it? I mean, how did you said yeast health. What did you do? Did you do create a yeast brink or something? Or what did you?
No, I actually pour out of the bottom of a cone. And I try to pick a fermentation that's just completed into a bucket.
Okay.
And I like it in the bucket because I can smell it. I can see how thick it is. I can see.
You don't do any tests on it to see what's.
I don't do any tests. I don't have any equipment to do any tests.
Okay.
And I go by weight and smell and color.
By weight.
By weight.
What is?
Because sometimes you get really light pitches. So 3 gallons of one pitch isn't equivalent to 3 gallons of another pitch. Because some have more liquid in them. And it's just a feel thing.
Yeah, you got a number?
A pound per barrel is pretty traditional in British brewing. That's the British rule of thumb, a pound per barrel for a 5.5% beer. At 6.5, I had to add a little bit more yeast, a little bit more oxygen. Not a lot more, but a little bit more. And once I got that dialed in, I don't think about it anymore. When I went to do the double IPA, a lot of late hops to me taste sweet. So even though I was drying out the final gravity pretty well with my yeast, it still tasted a little sweet. So I started, even though I was getting 78% apparent attenuation, I decided I needed to push it drier. So I started adding sugar.
Well, okay, so 78 that's the high end, isn't it?
That's the high end of California. And I can push it there if I get my yeast health perfect. I can push it to 78.
Okay.
But I wanted to go more. I wanted it even drier. So I started adding sugar. Now, the question is, when do you add sugar? And if you're adding, say, 5% sugar, 5% of your grist is sugar, you can add it during the boil and it doesn't really change anything. Mm-hmm. When you start pushing above that, 7% you can probably add without changing anything. By the time you get up to 10%, it actually works better to add it into the fermentation.
Why is that? What changes?
What I believe is that you're taking yeast out of a relatively low osmotic environment, putting it into a really high osmotic environment, and it hiccups.
Hold on a second, Colin. Hold on.
Sort of a stalling effect.
What's it? Yeah, and it just isn't happy at the beginning, and it throws some off flavors in the beginning.
What's an
higher alcohols?
Anytime yeast isn't happy, that's when it throws off the off flavors.
Yeah. What's an osmotic environment?
Yeah.
Everyone stop. I need this clarified so I can follow along.
Anything that's... I'm going to really simplify it for you.
It's like you forgot where you were for a second.
Well, it's so... But there's different ways of making a high osmotic environment. Well, one is to have too much sugar. And that's one we're talking about. But you can also do it with minerals and water. But that's a whole other conversation.
It basically means high osmotic there's a lot of stuff dissolved in that liquid medium.
Exactly.
And low osmotic means there's a lot less stuff dissolved in it. So if you think of a yeast cell as a big water bag.
A permeable bag.
Yeah, permeable water bag. But they have, let's say you've had them in a low osmotic liquid, which is your starter. They've got their bags kind of the same as that. You throw them into the high osmotic, high sugar content wort.
It tries to crash the walls down.
It tries to crash it. They try to dilute the higher osmotic thing. So it creates pressure within that cell to push against that membrane. They don't like that.
Okay. Yeah, they're going from a very low alcohol environment to a pretty high one.
Or even at the beginning. And there's some talk about if you put them into an environment with too many simple sugars, If they stop making, they don't even start making the right enzymes to break down the maltose and
okay. Well, so this is what I learned adding to the fermenters is exactly that. So what would happen is, let's say you're 30% of the way through fermentation or 50% wherever you've picked your gravity point to add sugar. Once you add the sugar, there's actually a lag. It actually stops fermenting and makes new genetic machinery so that it can ferment the different sugar unless you add maltose.
Okay. So if you're just going to add
dextrose is what I add.
Yeah, if you're going to add dry malt extract, then it's not a big deal.
Right. Yeah. But then that has more residual sugars.
Mm-hmm. It's not going to dry it out what you want to do.
As much as if you add dextrose.
Yeah.
So if you add too much dextrose, you can get acetaldehyde, acetaldehyde, however you want to say it.
Can you? Because I've heard that was like a misnomer.
Well, if you add too much all at once. So I do it in if I'm adding 20%.
Let's say you're adding 20% for a Belgian.
For a Belgian,
you've got to stagger.
I'm going to stagger it. I don't do it in the boil at all, and then I stagger it in the ferment. And when it's going along and maybe when it starts to slow, I feel it's starting to slow. Then I put maybe a third of it in there, and then I do that and stagger it, and it lags it first, and then the second and third addition it doesn't lag. It just starts bubbling.
So my double IPA runs about 9% dextrose now. It gets about an 81% apparent attenuation, and it starts at 20 Plato, so 1080. Now, when I went to do the triple, the first thing I did was try the same technology. Ran it out to 13% alcohol, so big triple, and it. I believe that higher alcohols and hops, late hops, make beers sweeter than their final gravity.
Hop sweet,
hop sweet. Well, the alcohol sweetness too. You're going to get a lot of that.
We've talked about the alcohol sweetness, and so that's not surprising. But the hop sweet, have I had that before? I don't know if I've had that before.
I really think it's a big issue. So I started pushing the Triple IPA drier and drier with any method I could.
And why isn't that a beer name, by the way? Hop Sweet.
Because you haven't made a commercial brewery yet.
It is now.
Yeah, Hop Sweet. Triple
Everybody else is making a commercial brewery.
I associate Hop Sweet.
You just learned it here.
Yeah, right. I associate hop sweetness more with specific varieties, not necessarily volume of hops.
Well, and that could be too.
Is it varietal?
Yeah.
Some
what varieties would you think of?
I think sometimes like good Centennial, like Bell's Two Hearted to me, can get a little hop sweet sometimes.
Okay. So I think of Centennial. I think of Columbus.
But not all Centennial.
Amarillo.
It definitely is very volatile.
Variety?
Yeah, there's a lot of variety within Centennial to me.
Okay.
Yeah, Centennial, a Calypso sometimes.
I haven't used it yet, yeah.
Can get sweet. But that's in Grunion, if you had that beer.
The Constellation brands.
Oh, right, yeah.
Grunion?
Yes.
Yeah. I have not, but that's interesting to me. So is it more of a flavor, I guess, really, than what is it?
It's if we go back to Cicerone, it's perceived bitterness.
Okay.
Suddenly, even though your bitterness, I'm if you did the math on it, 100 IBUs is about all you can get. If you're lucky, your yeast can leave you with 85, 87 IBUs. I don't think you can really do much over that without IBU extracts post-fermentation.
Right. Even post-fermentation?
Post-fermentation.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, the yeast strips it out.
Okay.
So you have a solubility limit, and then the yeast walls stick to it and drag it out.
Okay.
So the highest I've ever measured is 87 at White Labs.
Okay.
Okay, so that's the most bitter beer I've ever been able to make.
Okay.
But if you just did the math on this, it would be somewhere around 200.
Oh,
right. So I can't add more hops at this point.
Right.
I'm adding a pound per barrel into the 60-minute edition.
Wow.
So
in just the 60?
In just the 60. And these are above 10% alpha acid hops.
Do you do any extracts? Do you deal with any
No,
of that?
I play with them every chance I get. None of them are in production.
Okay.
So I have two realms of my world. Things that I'm willing to say, yeah, I can do this every time. And things that I'm not willing to serve back to back because they're going to be so different every time.
Huh. Okay.
And so this batch number 9, I've considered it 9 failures.
Really?
But 9 failures that I've learned a ton about.
And you can still I can go and get this served, right?
You can today. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the other 8 iterations, no? Or
No. This is 8 batches in 7 years.
Okay.
Or 9 batches in 7 years now.
Okay.
Yeah, so I make sure, especially if it's one I really don't like, I make sure there's a really long lag before I release it. And this one, I tried something brand new. So the last 4 batches, I'd been putting beta amylase into the fermentation.
Okay.
So this is basically light beer production. And the lowest I've driven it is to -2 Pareto.
So you're adding
or
enzymes.
0.992.
Yeah. You're adding enzymes to your ferment.
Yeah, adding enzymes to the fermentation.
Okay.
The yeast doesn't really like the enzyme. So you really have to add just the right amount of enzyme. If you don't add enough, you don't hit your final gravity. If you add too much, it makes autolysis. This has autolysis from adding too much enzyme.
This beer we're drinking right now.
This beer we're
okay.
drinking.
So the beta amylase, that's in the malt already, right?
Right. This one actually comes from bacteria. So the beta amylase in malt wants to be 145 degrees-ish.
Okay.
The beta amylase that comes from this particular bacteria likes being a 70, likes being a fermentation temp. So that's when it's the most active.
So you add it at fermentation to help?
I add it right when I pitch the yeast.
Okay.
I think big breweries add it a little bit into fermentation. I'm afraid I'm going to forget. So I add it when I do that.
Smart. Well, so why... What am I trying to say? Why do the yeast like the beta amylase from the grain, but not the post-ferment addition?
Well, you denature all the enzymes when you boil.
Oh, okay.
So there's no enzymes that get through the boil.
Okay.
So this is adding something that enzymes are pretty aggressive. Yeah. And I don't know. I haven't studied it yet because I just figured this all out in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I am certain that the beta amylase is doing something to the yeast.
Yeah, binding on the wall.
Because I used about 3 times as much beta amylase as I'm supposed to in this batch, and it really autolyzed the yeast quickly. Normally the yeast would have survived. There's a 12.4% fermentation, and normally the yeast would have survived enough that when I vented it, it would have been intact yeast that I wasn't going to use again. Okay. This wasn't intact yeast. This was the entire fermentation room smelled like autolysis.
Really?
When I vented the cone.
What does autolysis smell like again, please?
Smell this beer. It's great example.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah.
It smells like IPA.
Yeah, right.
What kind of tastes like IPA?
The autolysis flavors, I think, leave this relatively quickly. So I poured it early so that we didn't have to suffer through it.
It's almost like a burnt kind of smell.
There is like a burny, not nail polish, but like burnt plastic maybe, or burnt cardboard.
That's the higher alcohols.
The higher alcohols are the nail polish.
Yeah, but
the cardboard is actually these glasses weren't rinsed.
Yeah,
and they came out of a cardboard box.
Kind of burnt rubbery.
It tastes.
Can you hit me one more glass, Jake?
Yes, I can.
Hit you one more time.
So autolysis, if I'm smelling autolysis, it's burnt rubber.
Diesel?
For lack. Okay, diesel. Okay.
Yeah.
Is it a flavor? You think I would know this by now, but is it a flavor too?
Most people are not experimenting enough, and most people you're drinking their beers are good enough that you're not going to pick up enough of it to really, that's this.
Yeah.
It just doesn't come up that often.
It usually comes up with homebrewers that forget a beer on the yeast cake. Yeah, that's where I taste it the most.
Yeah, they'll leave it in the carboy way too long.
Leave it in a carboy for 6 months.
I've done that.
Right.
But
you're doing it.
I'm actively doing it now.
You're not getting to taste those beers.
Yeah.
Those guys are the ones that don't share them much. But you got to do some stuff to make it like that. It's usually the Colin said somebody's leaving it on there, or they let it get way too warm, and it just sits there on that yeast cake way too long.
90 degrees on a yeast cake is a great way to do it. Yeah.
Okay.
In big breweries, what we see autolysis in the center of big cones. So you have this huge cone that's got 20 gallons of yeast in it, and
the pressure,
and it's so far away from the cooling jacket that it overheats. And so if you put your temperature probe on the edge, it's 40 degrees. You put it in the middle, and it's 90 degrees, and it'll throw autolysis into the batch. Especially when you repitch it, those dead cells will blow into the next batch.
Oh, wow.
Right, because when yeast autolyze, they don't just sit quietly and die in the bottom of the fermenter. They explode, and all of the guts and everything just
it's yeast guts.
into the beer.
Yeah.
Okay.
And apparently it doesn't taste good. Or smell good.
It doesn't smell good.
Apparently. I mean, that's what people say.
Right, I hear it. Yeah.
But you're really not going to run across it very much, even with home brewers.
Yeah.
You have to really
the guys that do that kind of stuff, we just don't see their beers.
Are you kidding me?
Well,
I do too.
Yeah.
No,
Have you been to NHC?
Well, those, yeah.
Or any sort of homebrew convention at all, or anything?
I forgot about that part.
Yeah, you forgot about actively.
I retract
interacting
my
with people?
statement. I'm just talking about us around here generally. But now I just totally retract my statement.
I mean, no offense, homebrewers. Look, everyone does it.
So in any case.
Yeah. Getting back to the point.
Just to finish the topic here.
Yeah.
One of the things I tried in this was trying some alpha amylase in the mash. So you can get alpha amylase, also created by an enzyme, but it's designed or by a bacteria.
Okay.
And it's designed to work at mash temps. And so you can throw it in the mash and get much better conversion out of your mash. But because it's alpha amylase, it leaves some more dextrins behind, a little bit more body. So instead of shooting for -2, which has kind of been my target, this was -1.4. I'm going to start shooting for about -0.5, and I'm going to start doing it with alpha amylase in the kettle. Try to protect the yeast a little bit in the mash tun.
Yeah.
And try to protect the yeast a little bit. So that'll be batch number 10.
Okay. When are you going to do that in another year?
What year? Another 6 months.
Okay, that's interesting to me. So, what don't you like about this besides the autolysis? But you said that kind of volatilizes off.
It does. As it warms up, I like this beer better. It's a little bit too dry for me. It's a little bit too bitter for me.
Yeah.
It's a little. What I really wanted was a hop tincture to start with. I wanted a hop tincture, and
that's autolysis.
And it really is.
It's 85 IBUs.
No, it's the bitterness that just
right.
Yeah.
Holy
well, you said it was a triple, and I smelled it. It smells like a triple, and I took a drink of it. And I'm like, whoa,
right.
This is
that's about as bitter beer as I've ever had.
Yeah,
my God.
But it's dry as a bones. There's nothing.
There's nothing to back it up. And in fact,
it's just naked.
It looks yellow, but there is no hop or no malt character left in it. The enzymes just trashed it all.
It makes you appreciate 2 degrees of malt sweetness.
Wow, Colin. I mean, look, and I'm not even saying it from a standpoint of like you made a terrible beer. Like this is an impressive thing. It's a science project.
If people can make cloudy beers, I can make my own style. Right?
Yeah, that's right. my sub one, my sub-zero, fucking finishing gravity.
Hop tincture IPA.
Bless almighty.
Name the category. You'll find somebody to buy it.
Right. Hop tincture IPA.
Right, exactly. Name the category, and when you look at it, it's clear. It doesn't look like a yeast slurry. It's not super hazy.
There is a chill haze. We're drinking it pretty warm. There is a chill haze in it,
but a little bit, probably not a lot.
Not a lot.
Yeah. So that flies in the face of everyone who thinks that just because it's cloudy has more hop character. This has tons of hop character.
You kind of feel like you have to wipe your tongue off after.
Yeah, it's pretty tannic.
Bev, you want to try some of this? Please, will you please try some? Seriously, will you please try some?
Fine. Yes, I'll be right out.
Hey, come on. Join the boys.
Please pour some.
So anyhow, I like bringing experiments to people. It's more fun than saying, this is the same beer I've been making for 10 years, blah, blah, blah. I hope you like it.
Well, it's purposeful. It smells like a triple, but...
Yeah. It doesn't drink like one.
A slap in the face, though, when you drink it.
So how do you serve this to people? Because I feel like...
Half pints.
Half pints?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to watch Bev's face when she drinks this.
The bitter beer face.
Yeah.
Is there, on the menu, do you explain your experiment?
No.
There it is.
Most people
There it goes.
Hey. She likes it.
It's not.
Aaron, you want to try some of this? Yeah.
It sort of grows on
I
you.
like it. It's not bad. The aftertaste is really good.
Find a microphone.
Borrow that. The aftertaste is really nice. The initial taste was a little painful for me, but that's not my style.
It's not anybody's style. It's a brand new.
Here's Aaron.
He's got the bitter beer face too.
What is that?
It's a below zero, like red wine territory, triple IPA, fermented as dry as it could possibly go with artificial means.
Does this have the 85 IBU lab, or you think it might be about that?
That would be my guess. The double IPA usually comes in 83 to 87. And this has a lot more hops, but I don't think you can go up to 100.
I can't drink it. I had it once, and I was like, that's it's like St. Adam's Utopia. So you have 1 ounce every 5 years, and you're good.
How old is this beer?
3 weeks from brew, 4 weeks from brew.
So I give it another 7 or 8 weeks. It might be a little bit different. I think it's going.
Oh, it will be. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Will it be drinkable?
And could you at this point accentuate the malts by doing a mineral addition?
I could actually. I could add chloride at this point. Yeah, add some calcium chloride and bring out a little bit of that.
Time in that, maybe.
Take a little bit of that harsh bitterness off with calcium chloride. Cool.
And the alcohols will esterize, and so you'll get alcohol sweetness too the longer the beer sits around.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Yeah, this is a big beer. It takes a while to blend together.
Oh, yeah.
It's a crazy beer, man.
3 weeks is nothing.
It's kind of a weird idea.
It's a crazy beer. How is it received?
Chris Graham used to call me Crazy Colin.
That's true.
He still does.
Used to. Yeah.
The people who like it because it's the cheapest alcohol they can buy at the brewery.
Yeah.
And you're always going to have those customers.
Oh, for sure.
Even with the hop grenade discount.
Wow, that's a crazy beer. So can homebrewers get these enzymes as well, or is it a pro thing?
I was going to ask the same thing.
Every time I have mentioned something on the Brewing Network, all the homebrew stores have scrambled to bring it in.
Yeah,
and sometimes that's been a good thing, and sometimes it hasn't been.
Okay,
like the Biofine. Everybody, after I started talking about Biofine on the air, everybody started using Biofine. Oh, yeah. Biofine works great in a tank. Mm-hmm. It's a phenomenal thing to add to a tank. It works really bad in a homebrew keg.
Why?
Because it works the best the first time it settles clear. And every time you shake up that keg, it doesn't work as well.
Okay.
Whereas gelatin works the same every time. If you shake up a gelatin keg or an isinglass keg, every time it'll settle bright. The Biofine settles worse every time it gets shaken.
So I usually Biofine, let it settle, then rack it off the keg.
Exactly. Or filter. Yeah, Biofine and then filter is a great way to set.
Don't let it re-agitate. Okay.
Yeah, but if you re-agitate it gets a little bit worse. It loses its activity over time.
And homebrewers, we love to agitate shit.
Well, you can lift one of your kegs. I can't lift one of my tanks, so it doesn't move.
Right.
Once it's full, it doesn't move.
Well, that's what I mean, right? Like, we like to shift stuff around and peek and look. We're like amateur, home bakers. Is the bread done yet? Is the bread done? And then suddenly, it's not
done. Is
the
souffle done?
Right. Yeah. So I can see that.
Well, then we like to pour off a pint of gunk and then it stirs up the bottom.
Yeah, we like futzing with crap.
But like Doc says, if you just, don't do anything. Next thing you do if you Biofine it, then you just rack it to another keg and you'll be fine.
I don't have to filter it at that point.
Well, I don't either. I don't filter. So.
I Biofine in my conical, even at homebrew.
In the ferment.
Yeah, I'll use the temperature probe and just kind of stir the Biofine in on the top, and then to mix it in, and then just do it in the conical, and then my kegs are clear.
So can we get the Alpha and the Beta as homebrewers?
If you can't now, you will be able to in 6 months.
Because so many times it's most places will sell it only in huge volumes.
Well, I have to buy it by the liter.
Yeah,
and a liter of the beta amylase is enough for maybe 25 batches of 7 barrels.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
right.
A little goes a long way.
That's usually the issue, that we can't get it in small enough quantities.
I think the right amount for me is about 15 milliliters in 7 barrels.
Jeez. Yeah. How do you break that down as a home brewer?
Well, you dilute it and then add it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm dogging.
Or use a micro pipette.
I'm so smart.
Micro pipettes. Yeah. So I have pipettes that go down to 100th of a milliliter.
Yep. I do too.
And both of you would. Not surprising.
I use it for trials for flavors. So if you're, if you want to add raspberry to a beer and you want to figure out how much, you can take 1 pint and keep dosing it.
That's what I use it for too.
Yeah.
Well, Tasty already figured that out. It's 12 drops.
Depends on the beer
per bottle, right?
Depends
That's
on what
the
you're
golden
doing.
ratio.
Well, that's 11, I think.
for
the Dortmunder peach.
The gold medal winning
multi second round winning beer. And I always have to add, the Dortmunder itself placed second 1 year.
That's true.
So I mean,
you're not just a pretty
I'm not
face.
fixing a beer.
Right.
I'm adding to it. Right.
Well, and that's
some would say ruining it.
Well, you might. I didn't put much effort into it. It wasn't like I labored over peaches and stuff. For hours
you didn't crush them with your hand and take the pits out.
I did get a new bottle every year. So every year I'd take 4 bottles, whatever I had to make. I'd take 12 times 4 drops out of it and then throw it away.
You got to have fresh extract.
I've won twice in a second round before I even ever tasted the beer.
Jesus Christ.
Have you still not tasted it?
I just go by spot. 1 year I did I said, I got to taste this shit. I get all embarrassed, right? Like the runner-up would come up to me and go like, well, how did you make that peach beer so peachy? I masticated these raspberries, froze them, and back sweetened, all this shit. And I go like, good job there. I can't try to change the subject.
Yeah, that's a really nice shirt on you.
Yeah.
I was judging a beer best to show at the Northern California Homebrewers Festival one time.
Yeah.
And it just had the best hop aroma of any homebrewed IPA I'd ever had.
Wow.
And so, I like to compliment people, and I took time to compliment the guy. And I said, that's just phenomenal. You have to get the beer clear before you dry hop it to bring out that much aroma. Otherwise, it'll stick to the yeast, and there's like a mechanical failure there. Mm-hmm. And this was just bright and brilliant and beautiful and smelled just like the variety. And he's like, yeah, I just used some extract. It's like, wow, it was great. It was the best extract I've ever had.
That's really great. That's cool. So these enzymes, people have talked about adding Beano and all that kind of stuff to their conicals. Is that, or the fermenters? Is that the same thing?
It's similar. I find these enzymes are real fragile. They decay on the shelf, and I can't imagine you're getting a fresh bottle of Beano anywhere. So figuring out how much to add.
Well, first you develop a bad case of gas.
Yeah.
Then you
IBS.
test it on yourself, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, you could do that.
Yeah. Next time you have to, next time you go to use it, repeat.
And if they're decaying too, you're going to get a lot of inconsistency from tablet to tablet.
Well, and that's what I've noticed with my bottle that sits on the shelf. One bottle lasted me like 6 years, and I was getting
a Beano?
No, of
amylase.
Of beta amylase, and I was getting higher and higher terminal gravities every time, using the same amount, same addition every time.
And so
so this time I decided, well, it's an old bottle, I'm just going to triple it.
Okay.
And it blew up my yeast.
Really? What do you mean? You couldn't use it again?
No, the yeast didn't like it.
The yeast didn't like it. It attacked the yeast.
Killed a bunch of the yeast.
Yeah. Oh, wow. So what do you do?
I'm just going to throw it away like Stacey does. It's cheap. It's $30.
No, I mean with if it killed all your yeast. Oh, this is post ferment, right?
The yeast didn't survive it. Obviously, itolicized. I separated
this batch.
This batch.
Okay, got it.
I separated the beer from the yeast after 9 days, and which should be plenty of time. I shouldn't have had an issue. The pitch was just awful. It was just,
wow.
And when people from the bar start coming back to the fermentation room going, what does that smell? Your pitch was bad.
That's a sign. Jesus, man. Well,
I'm exaggerating. Nobody came back, but I expected them to.
Right. So, what do you? What's your next step with Enzymes? I mean, are you switching amylase and that's it? Are you going beta, or what are you doing?
I'm gonna go alpha in the mash tun.
You go alpha. Are you going to use beta?
I'm not going to use any beta, and I'm going to see what happens. Okay. And I still think I can get below zero, which is what I want.
And that's where you want.
That's what I want. I really want below zero.
So how far off?
So why do you want it below zero?
Yeah,
because he can.
I mean, this beer would be better if it had.
I agree.
Some nice dextrins left over from some carapils.
Hang on a second. Here's my question, Colin.
But not above zero.
Colin.
No, I'm talking about 1.10 or something. Yeah, well above zero.
When it finished at 3, when it finished at 3, it was so sweet.
To you.
At 3 Plato, it was so sweet. I couldn't stand it. It was awful.
Okay,
it was chlorine.
Fine.
And it didn't taste like
sensory matters. Fine.
Yeah, for sure. So how far off is this beer from your target, from where you want it to be? Because this beer to me is undrinkable. But I don't drink triple IPAs anyway, so
it could go up anywhere from half to 1 Plato, and I'd be happy. If it went up more than 1 Plato, I wouldn't be happy anymore.
So if you're using the alpha and it's leaving a lot of dextrins, are you thinking about taking some of the malt out, replacing it with dextrose to kind of
not in the next attempt? No.
Okay.
Yeah. Right now, this has no dextrose. This has 0 dextrose.
You wouldn't need it, right? Wow. I mean, if you're using, I can't imagine that dextrose would help the beer.
Well, at this point,
except help your grain bill. You know what I mean?
Dextrose is the only thing that keeps the triple IPA from becoming a barley wine.
Right.
I mean, you're basically making a barley wine.
3 Plato, it tastes like a barley wine and not.
You're making a barley wine without using dextrose to get to this alcohol level.
Right. Basically.
Yeah.
Okay. Fascinating.
It's been a fun project, It's kind of one of those things. You only have a little bit of time to work on projects, so you kind of make a batch here and there and go, what can I do?
Tell me about it. I don't have time to work on my enzyme projects.
Your backlog. Your backlog of enzyme
backlog on enzyme project. Wow, this is amazing to me, Colin. it's just weird.
It's good blending
drinking it. The other it's terrible blending beer. That's the other issue with it.
You tried to save it?
It is the worst blend. It ruins anything you add to it.
Because that's what I was thinking.
I don't hardly taste that bad flavor in there.
It's not the bad flavor. It's that it's so dry.
Fine, I'll add it to a malty beer.
You can't.
I'm going to do it right now.
Just ruins it. Ruins it.
JP's going to try anyway.
Pale 31.
It really is.
I'm going to add some liquid gold, Pale 31, to this beer.
Yeah, that's going to pop.
Yeah. You had a lot of it.
Yeah, it was mostly Pale 31.
Yeah, now it's like a 12% Pale 31. It's great.
Yeah, right. Well,
probably 9%
I'll try the same
now.
thing.
All right, Doc's going to try the same thing. What are you drinking, Pale 31?
No, the Test Society.
Okay.
The other thing I've noticed about this beer...
Whoa, yeah, that's weird.
The other thing I've noticed about this beer is the first 3 half pints were hard to get through, and now I'm starting to acquire it.
I wonder why, because that coating on your tongue...
It starts to build a thickness there. It's like having a sweater.
Right. Tongue sweater. That's what it should be called. Tongue sweater.
But like I said, the beer has to mature, too. 3 weeks is really young for
a beer
this size beer. Oh, my God.
Blending it did give it a little bit of malt backbone, just that one. But man, that bitterness is
it's the permanent bitterness.
It's like
it's a firm bitterness.
It's like a thistle in the middle of caramel or whatever. It's this soft, sweet, and then it's just this core of nastiness.
I want a squeegee for my tongue right now.
It's bracing.
It's bracing.
Bracing is a word, that's for sure. Well, Colin, I think that was cool. It's a fun experiment for sure, man.
Yeah, thanks for doing that.
Right. You have to.
Right, yeah.
I mean, I think it'd be interesting for all these. I mean, essentially why we're talking about it is because a lot of homebrewers are really striving to do double and triple IPAs, but we've had them on Dr. Homebrew. A couple of them are just not dry enough. And as homebrewers, we can't. Not that we can't, we don't have the facilities, or we have life to get in, gets in the way of our managing yeast and doing all this stuff properly. So it's hard for people at home to do this kind of shit. And so maybe the enzymes, whatever shop decides to distill them and carry them, could really help out.
I think they're interesting. I think they're worth playing with, and there's other enzymes that you can buy too. The enzyme that I think most people are interested in right now is the one that breaks the proteins. It not only breaks the chill haze protein, but it breaks gluten. A lot of big breweries are using that now.
Oh, really?
Moonlight's using it, I believe, in every batch now.
To get gluten-free beer or gluten-reduced?
Yeah, I believe it to be gluten-free. We can't say that yet. FDA hasn't approved that.
That's the White Labs product. What's it called?
Clarity Firm.
Yeah, Clarity Firm. That's exactly right.
Well, it's gluten-free technically if it's under 20 ppm.
Well, the FDA, if you say gluten-free, that's a health claim. Making a health claim about beer is suddenly gets the FDA all up in arms.
And I think
so we can't say gluten-free, we can say reduced gluten.
Okay.
Right. I'm not sure, but I don't know that you can say a product is gluten-free if it naturally has gluten.
I think you can, because
you can't just say gluten reduced.
The last few projects I was working on at More Beer was actually trying to make gluten-free beer, like with sorghum extracts.
But sorghum doesn't have any gluten.
No, I understand. But the yeast inherently has it, like the White Labs Pitchables.
Right, so it gets a little bit in there.
Yeah, so I sent those for tasting, and it was I forget, it was like under 10 ppm. So I'm like, well, if you add that into, because the problem was people 8 years ago or whatever wanted to homebrew, but they thought they had to only use dried yeast. But I was trying to prove that you can use liquid yeast because there is some gluten in there, but it gets so diluted.
Yeah, diluted.
Right.
It's immeasurable. And so that's when they were saying if it's under like 20 ppm, it's technically gluten-free.
You know what?
But I could be wrong on that. I don't know.
If you send your beer to White Lab for a gluten assay, they just tell you that it's below a threshold.
Yeah,
they won't tell you that it's zero.
Right. It's below a measurable, which I think is 10 or something.
I think it's 5 or something. Yeah, okay. 5 or 10. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Anyway, fun times.
Right. Everyone's faking it.
Yeah, gluten free, whatever.
I haven't gotten any clarity from
fun times.
I haven't gotten any clarity from yet, but I'd like to. It's something I'd like to play with.
Yeah. Well, I think you do. I think you do great. Make a quadruple IPA, and that,
so that's one that takes out protein. But anything that exists in the beer, you can deal with.
There's some East Coast breweries I want to send Clarity Firm to.
I don't think it'll help.
Yeah, it won't help.
Send them some.
That's not what they had in mind.
Right. Yeah.
Send them a cease and desist. I don't know. Anyway, I think we're going to take a break here, Colin.
Okay.
And then we come back. We're going to jump into water.
Okay.
Because that's, like Doc said, that's what we've forced you into your forte. So we're here on the session with Colin from Downtown Joe's. We'll be right back.
Take care.
You're listening to the Brewcasters. The Brewcasters on the Brewing Network.
That's it. I've had it. I am never putting hops in my beer again.
What? Why?
It's just too ridiculous. Insane prices, stupid contracts, high shipping costs, crappy selection.
Dude, you need Nico Brew.
Nico Brew will rock your f***ing face right the f*** off your f***ing skull. $5 shipping to all 50 states. Plus fantastic international rates get you low prices on Nico Brew's great selection of hops and more. Whether you're a home brewer, a pro brewer, or a homebrew shop owner, Nico Brew can get you the hops you need in increments big and small. Single orders, spot buys, or full contracts. And there's only one place to join the uber special secret elite bare bones club where you'll get the best deals anywhere.
Holy shit.
NicoBrew.com. NIKOBREW. Nico Brew, your bare bones buddy in the brewing business.
Hey, this is Brandon from Drake's Brewing Company, here to talk to you about our Hop Chef Champion Brewer Competition.
Hop Chef Champion Brewer Competition.
15 awesome California breweries are joining us on Saturday, April 16th from 2 to 5 p.m. at Drake's dealership in Uptown Oakland. Each brewery is bringing a tasty brand new beer made with the randomly selected unique ingredients, including everything from ginger to juniper berries. Tickets are just $25 and include a collectible glass, a punch card to try all 16 brews.
Hop Chef Champion Brewer Competition.
And you, the beer drinker, gets to decide the winner. Saturday, April 16th, we bring the beer, you be the judge, and see who will be crowned the next Hop Chef champ. For more information, check out drinkdrakes.com.
Know the three most important rules in brewing: sanitation, sanitation, and sanitation. And no one does it better than 5-Star Chemicals. 5-Star knows sanitation. You can only sanitize clean equipment. And 5-Star knows how to clean, too. For craft brewers and home brewers, 5-Star has what you need to keep your fermenters, serving tanks, kegs, and draft lines sparkling and free of any beer-spoiling bacteria. PBW, caustic, acid cleaners, Star Sand, Santa Clean, lubricants and defoamers, pH stabilizers, and more. 5-Star Chemicals has cleaning supplies, safety supplies, heat exchangers, pumps, hoses, and valves. And 5-Star is proud to offer eco-friendly products that exceed customer expectations. If you have a cleaning problem, you need the 5-Star solution. Visit 5starchemicals.com or call 800-782-7019. 800-782-7019 and get the 5-Star treatment today. Williams Brewing is your online resource for prompt delivery of quality home brewing supplies. Since 1979, Williams Brewing has offered the finest equipment and the freshest ingredients, backed by the best customer service in the business. Do you like to mash using efficient fly sparging, but would like an easy way to heat your strike and sparge water? Enter the new Brewer's Edge electric mash water heater, a plug-in, anywhere, precisely controlled heater for strike and sparge water. Ditch the fumes and second burner and make mashing easy. Go to williamsbrewing.com today and browse their vast selection. That's williamsbrewing.com. Orders placed by 4 p.m. Pacific Time weekdays ship the same day. Brewing is easy the Williams way.
Are you looking for a simple brewing system that's great for all grain brewing, but everything on the market seems to be full of compromises? Blickman Engineering has the answer. The Blickman Brew Easy All Grain Brewing System. The Brew Easy is a complete system with easy upgrades and a beautiful compact design, perfect for any size brewing location. At its core, the Brew Easy is built on 2 gorgeous Blickman Boilermaker brew kettles, a high-temperature March pump, and either a top-tier gas burner or the new Boil Coil electric heater. The Brew Easy adapter lid allows the pots to stack stack on top of each other, forming an efficient, strong, and compact brewing setup that comes in 5, 10, and 20-gallon batch sizes. Upgrade your Brew Easy system with full automated control by adding a Blickman Tower of Power temp controller, and make moving around easy with the Blickman Kettle Cart. The Brew Easy is modular. If you already own a Boilermaker kettle, you can build your Brew Easy by purchasing just the modules you need. The new Brew Easy all-grain brewing system. See it today at BlickmanEngineering.com and brew with Blickman quality on your new Brew Easy.
You're tuned into this session because life's too short to listen to crappy radio.
Hey, everybody, welcome back. You know, Colin, we were talking after the first break or whatever about how the chat room is sometimes better than the actual show itself.
You know, can I make a guilty confession?
Yeah.
I've never listened to the show.
Neither have I. So we're all right.
But I love the chat room.
The chat room's great. Well, there's a couple guys busting some balls. Some guys like, I miss lunch meat. And some guys like, oh, dude, did you hear it on Friday? It was amazing. And it's like, no, I missed it. Shit. And they were fucking with him. It's pretty funny.
Oh. Friendship.
I actually never heard lunch meat either, but I like all the jokes.
How does that? I don't under the jokes about lunch meat.
Well, you know, I'm like part of the lunch meat Facebook page.
Oh God, I left that years ago,
and it's just really funny. I think I would have liked the show, but I never listened to it.
You know,
I have to work on Friday.
It's on podcast. You can download it. You can listen to it on your way home.
Well, he doesn't listen to the Brewing Network. I don't know if you got that.
Well, he said the show. I thought he meant the session.
I actually really just listen to music. So
yeah,
if I've got the time, I listen to music.
What's your favorite band of all time?
I'm afraid I'm a Zeppelin guy.
I knew that. I knew that was
I could never get into Zeppelin. Never could.
You know, I was like 13
you're a little
or something.
too young.
Yeah, I was like 13, and John Bonham had just passed. And
who's that?
The drummer?
Just kidding. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, in fact, the latest song I've been learning is Cashmere. But finally decided I was going to work out Cashmere.
So. I have a Cashmere sweater, and I really like it. But
it's also a place.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. No, I had my best friend growing up in elementary school, I guess. He was
Pick
like,
one.
It's all the same, actually. Yeah. He was like super getting into Zeppelin. I'm like, I can't swing it, dude. I can't do it. Yeah, I was like 12. I'm like, I can't do it.
But you don't play guitar. So.
Well, I have a bass that I punch.
Yeah.
I hang it on the wall and I just thump it for like 5 minutes.
So you like The Who, right? You're a John Entwistle guy?
No.
Yeah. I remember when the Into the Outdoor was just ready to come out. We were all waiting for it. And it just, man, my friend came home with it and it just went nuts.
Speaking of In Through the Outdoor, Colin, let me ask you a question. Are you getting enough? Are you getting enough, Colin?
What's up?
Are you getting enough?
Sure.
All right. I bet you look more, though, right?
Always.
Well, AdamandEve.com. Now you see the segue.
I see the segue.
AdamandEve.com wants to give you more, Colin, with 10 free gifts. First, you'll get a sexy surprise for her. Second, a specially selected toy for him, which I always thought was weird because it should be a selected toy for you, not him. It sort of implies that your wife or your significant other is cheating on you, and you're like encouraging that to happen. Anyway, and a third, a little something we know you'll both enjoy. Sorry, go ahead, Colin.
I was going to say their only issue is they only deliver 6 days a week.
True. Plus, you'll get...
What do I do on Sunday?
Rest, I guess.
Order twice as much on Saturday.
Yeah, right. Order 2 packages. Plus, you'll get 6 full-length adult movies on DVD. And number 10, free shipping on your entire order. So what do you have to do to get your 10 free gifts, Colin? It's not hard yet. Just go to adamandeve.com and select any one item. It could be an adventurous new toy, a sexy piece of lingerie, or anything else you desire. Just enter offer code BNARMY at checkout, and you'll get all 10 free gifts. Go to checkout adamandeve.com today, select one item, and get 10 free gifts, including free shipping when you enter offer code BNARMY. That's BNARMY at adamandeve.com. And don't worry, everybody, we don't know who's ordering what, like we do with the Amazon product of the week.
Oh, we don't even know that either.
Well, we don't do that anymore, but we know like what products were ordered.
We don't know who ordered
through Amazon. We don't know who ordered them, but I thought that'd be
probably
rad.
better that way.
It's super right. Yeah. Things would start to change around here. We're like, what is going on? Who uses this much lube?
Why is everybody ordering fists?
Or who needs that zero-size butt plug?
Yeah, right.
The answer is I bet we sell more fleshlights than anybody else. Right?
I guarantee. And Bev just walked in on the weirdest conversation.
Yeah. Really, that's the weirdest conversation you've ever heard here?
No. Certainly not.
No, at least today, probably. Anyway, adamandeve.com. They're lovely people, and they love you, and they want you to love more. All right, Colin, so the real reason you're here is water. Well, not the real reason. But,
I
one of
just
the
wanted to
reasons.
hang out with you guys.
I'm making all this shit up. I don't know. So we're talking water now, and you're kind of, you've grown into the water guy. You and John Palmer. When I think of water, I think of bikini car wash team and you guys.
We do wash cars in our bikinis.
Right, yeah.
Good. Glad.
What's the alkalinity of the water you use?
Good
at your
question.
car wash.
Depends on the car. Like if I had a Tesla.
I have 0 on my car wash. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
see,
nice.
there you go.
I use RO water to wash my car.
Yeah.
It doesn't spot.
Yeah. You don't have to towel it dry. You just let it evaporate. Yeah.
We're in a drought, Colin.
Yeah.
So what's new with water, man? I know you're always working on some stuff as evidenced by by this Triple IPA kind of deal.
Well, when I started lecturing about water, there weren't any breweries using RO. And so we didn't really think of RO as a way to build water because it was so expensive, A, for the equipment, but also B, why would you do it? Why would you strip everything out?
If you don't have a problem, why fix it? Yeah.
Right. Well, but as time has gone on, RO's gotten cheaper. For pro brewing sizes, it's gotten more efficient.
Oh, really?
I don't waste as much water as I would have 20 years ago.
What's the ratio?
Was it 5 to 1 before?
It really depends on what you're removing. So if you have relatively soft water, you get really efficient. You might even only waste 10% of your water.
Yeah.
But if you have really alkaline water, like me at the worst time of the year, I probably waste about 30% of my water. But it would have been about 55% 15 years ago.
Yeah, I was pulling out of a well, so it's going to be
really hard water.
Yeah, and everything else in there, which is why I was RO in it anyway. So it was, I was wasted a lot, but it's free water. So
now 10% of my production, I'm building.
You put it back in the well too,
Yeah, right.
Yeah, just send it back where it came from.
You take a shower, you may have like scales all over yourself. You're like,
I use it to water the salt flat.
Yeah. There's a new salt plane.
Take it out and kill bugs with it out at Burning Man.
Yeah. There's no bugs at Burning Man.
Well, not real ones. You might feel them, but they're not really there.
You feel them on your way home.
Yeah.
Sand fleas.
Under the skin.
Right. The DTs.
Yeah. Right. So RO water. That's what you're using.
So when we wrote the book, when John and I wrote the book, we had some experience with building water out of RO.
Yeah.
But with so many people doing it, it's been something I've been trying to experiment with a lot.
Okay.
And so I like building water out of RO now. And one of the things we came up with about halfway through the writing of the book was adding alkalinity with baking soda, which scared the crap out of me in the beginning. Now I really like it. I like adding alkalinity. I'll go all the way up to 30 ppm alkalinity with baking soda and not getting any off flavors from the sodium added.
So that's why it scared you, because there'd be too much salt?
Too much sodium.
Too much sodium. And sodium does have a flavor. And but if I'm adding 30 ppm alkalinity, I can't taste the sodium.
Yeah, it's got to be over 50 usually.
Yeah, well, I haven't pushed the limits yet.
Yeah.
Why do you want to add alkalinity?
What if you're making a porter?
Okay.
And you're building from RO. What if you're making or even an amber or a brown? I want alkalinity at that point. And I never with acids strip alkalinity down to 0. I'll strip them down at the lowest, maybe 20 ppm. So depending on what time of year, I might be starting with 60 ppm. I might be starting with 120. In really terrible situations, I might even be starting with 150.
Just so it's not lost here, the reason you want to alkaline your water for dark beers is because the dark malts tend to lower the pH of the beer.
Dark malts have
so
an inherent acidity.
You want to give it an advantage by starting high.
Otherwise, your mash pH drops too low.
Yeah, and the beer could become almost sour or like pickling.
Not only does it become sour, but you get really weird hop character when your boil pH is below 5.
There you go. There's in the kettle as well for sure.
Okay, so you're kind of pre-course correcting, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So
this is something everybody should do. If you're making a dark beer, you should consider increasing the alkalinity of your water.
Okay. And to be honest, the most important thing you can do with your water is get the alkalinity set right for your grain. Yeah. That is the most important thing you can do. After that, you can worry about, do you have sulfate or chloride to help the hops? Do you have enough calcium to flocculate in the boil? So all of these things have got to come together. So a water recipe really has got to bring a bunch of different things together.
Okay. When we first started way back in the 90s building water, everybody was trying to build the water to whatever that place was.
Yeah, like Burton-on-Trent or Pilsen or whatever.
Exactly, and it's gotten way away from that. We're actually building it to the beer and our grain bills and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's good. So a lot of people still ask me questions about that. Do you try to make London water? They're trying to make Burton-on-Trent, that kind of thing, and we've gotten way away from that. So we don't, even though it's out there, those numbers are out there. They're good to know.
Yeah.
But most of those brewers have learned.
They're fixing their water.
They were fixing their water.
Right. Yeah, they're extremes.
Even way back then, they were fixing their water either by boiling it or adding things to it.
Mineral acids.
Slaked lime, things like that. So they were fixing their water back then. So it maybe early on they started using their own water and having. Well, it was all mediocre beer back then anyway. Way back then.
I don't believe that.
Back when all they had was smoked malts, basically. And
I think that we know what delicious is. And if 9,000 years ago you're sitting in a brew pub in Mesopotamia with your 7 buddies, and you're sitting on the bar stool, and the brewmaster gave you a beverage, you would still to this day find it delicious.
I was just thinking
it wouldn't remind you of the beer we have.
That was fine sour beer, because that's what it probably was.
It was probably
I was thinking more in the 1700s that I was just happy to not get cholera from the water, and you're drinking this beer that gives you a buzz, or even the really light beers that don't. But
we're not any smarter than they were 9,000 years ago.
We just have
our brain bucket's the same size.
We have more tools.
We have more tools, but that's not necessarily a good thing. I think a good brewer was still making delicious beer. And just like today, there would have been good brewers and bad brewers. Brewers that were, like Vinny, that just had the knack. And brewers like me that had to fight every way for every little piece.
So in hindsight, it wasn't great beer. But in the time, if you put yourself 9,000 years ago, for considering the options, it was great.
I think we would find it delicious.
Really?
We wouldn't call it beer. We would call it something else.
Yeah.
But we would sit down. After the first 3 or 4, while we got used to it, we'd be having a great time solving all the world's problems just like we do now.
God, sand in your toes. How do you even
remember? The world was flat back then. It had a lot less problems.
Were they putting orange slices on it?
I really don't think it was. I think as early as there's astronomy, we know the world's round. I think it's just the Christians that forgot.
There's people now who think the world is still flat. So there's a whole Facebook. If you ever have time, look up Flat Earth on Facebook groups and join them. Oh my God, they're insane. It's fun. Good trolling fun. Anyway, sorry.
Totally.
Never want to fly with them.
No, I just jump in and out.
I've been high enough to see the curvature of the Earth from airplanes.
No, that's a hologram.
That's a hallucination.
Yeah, all the chemtrails, all the particles that apparently the government sprays into by the planes in the atmosphere, changes the curvature of the Earth. It's all holograms now. It's controlled by NASA. These people who literally believe.
How'd you get that far up?
He smoked the right thing.
Right, you went to Burning Man
glider. Yeah, wave lift. I've been over 30.
Well, do you have oxygen on board?
Yeah, have to. Yeah. Over 12.
Over 12, yeah.
Over 12, you had oxygen. But there's people, I know people that have gone to 50.
Did you build your own glider?
Actually, I tried to.
Okay. Of course you did. I knew it.
And I spent a year building the world's biggest Excel spreadsheet.
Okay.
So I could control different things. If you change the airfoil, it changes how thick your spar is, which changes the weight of the wing, which changes the performance of the glider. So it would try to incorporate all those things. And it was a lot more fun than actually building a glider, I think.
It was a hamster wheel for you.
It was a hamster wheel. Yeah, it kept my mind from going nutso. Or at least to the degree that it has.
Right. Okay, so...
Okay, wait, but let me go back. Because I said something that was really important and we kind of glossed over it.
Yeah, 30,000 feet.
Right. So first you want... Yeah, I was a passenger. I wasn't actually the pilot. But anyhow. So first off, you want to set your pH of your mash. That's going to set a bunch of things for you, and you do that by controlling your alkalinity, and then to a lesser degree your calcium and your magnesium. But then you really need enough calcium in your boil to get nice flocculation, and also you need your pH right so you get your hop expression. Then you also need your sulfate to chloride ratio to really bring out the hop character you want. That's going to be different for different hops for different.
Or malt character on the other side, right?
Or malt character. But then the other thing that I'm really finding that's really important is we talked about osmotic stress from sugars. You're putting a certain amount of osmotic stress from all the minerals you have in a mineral water, high mineral water, hard water, whatever you want to call it, that the yeast actually can misbehave. So adding a bunch of gypsum, the calcium actually competes on that same ion channel for the magnesium. The yeast needs that magnesium to be healthy. So controlling that calcium to magnesium ratio helps your fermentation, which changes the flavors of the fermentation, changes some of those fermentation flavors.
Okay, so
you're
they're both
doing
good
all of these
in
things,
moderation.
and it's all got to come together.
Yeah.
And when you're building water from scratch, you're kind of starting from something that's really unnatural.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you're building it up, and
it's hard to get where you want to be because there's nothing natural there. And
you can build up really weird things like all calcium, no magnesium, or all magnesium, no calcium. And I'm finding that to be a bad thing for the yeast. The yeast doesn't like it. So when I wrote the book, I wasn't really thinking about the yeast. I was thinking if you had enough when John and I
for
wrote
the beer
book,
itself.
when you had enough minerals, you were fine. Now I'm thinking that calcium to magnesium ratio is kind of important. Not having too much sodium that will compete on that same channel is important as well. And I'm starting to look at those things as the yeast sees them now. And if we ever do a next revision of the book, that'll be what I add. John wants to add, if we do another revision, he wants to add some how do you control all these flavors and what do they taste like kind of things, tie it all together kind of chapter. I kind of want to add another geeky chapter on how the positive ions influence the yeast performance.
Look at him, he just glazed over.
I'm broken right now.
Colin's done talking.
Thanks.
I wanted to make sure before we ran out of time that I got at least that little sound.
Yeah. So, okay. So when you say that the yeast don't like it, what do? They just don't flock properly, or
well, certainly without enough
nasty emails.
Certainly without enough minerals, they won't flocculate properly.
But the calcium magnesium thing. If they're both competing for it.
That seems to control flavor and yeast health for repitching.
Okay.
I don't have good data yet.
Okay.
That is something like I said, I want to work on it.
Yeah.
That means I have to work on it. I mean, it really means brew batches of beer. Control that data point and start seeing what happens, not just in the fermentation that we're talking about, but 3 fermentations later.
Are you doing these experiments in full-size batches of downtown dose? Okay.
Yeah, that's all I've got. Yeah. I'm the world's largest, or the world's most esoteric pilot brewery. I don't have a production facility. I have a pilot facility.
Right. Is there anybody else besides maybe Palmer doing this kind of shit?
Yeah, there are actually,
really?
But they're research people, and they're either big breweries that aren't going to give us their data, or they're research people, and you can't understand their data.
Oh, really? Why not?
Well, they're doing it for a whole different reason.
Yeah, right. They're doing it for the big breweries,
or they're doing it for publication, and for kind of whole different set.
And the water papers don't really publish well. You don't see a lot of them, and I see more get submitted than actually get published. Nobody wants to go out on a limb and say, "Yeah, that's how it works." And so the judges, the people that judge the peer review, can be a little critical on water. And because nobody's really willing to step out on a limb. I'm always dancing on the end of the limb, but most people aren't willing to step out on the limb.
Why? Because it changes so much, or there's no way to know?
I just don't think they know yet. When you ask people like Charlie Bamforth, he's like, yeah, the water guys, they're their own world. Okay. I know about foam.
Which is his own world,
right?
Yeah.
I think, but the water guys, they really are out on their own world, and we thought about it as being something that was so simple for so long that as it gets complicated, they're like, I don't want to commit to that.
Okay.
Well, speaking of foam, does water have any effect on the foam?
I bet.
What are they?
I bet proteins are affected by calcium.
The proteins, then,
because they certainly affect the hot break, which has got to affect the foam, right?
Gotcha.
Yeah, calcium certainly affects hot break.
Nice. So you mentioned the calcium, sodium, magnesium channel.
And I'm not convinced that it's one channel yet. I've got to sit down with Chris White, but certainly calcium and magnesium compete. We've known that for a long time.
But so when we think of a certain beer style would require a certain water profile, but we're going to consider yeast to be essentially the same, that they would require the same water profile?
In my brewery, yeast is the same because I only use California Ale.
Right, but they're in different environments too. I mean, maybe in a higher alcohol environment they may use less or something.
I will bet you that Guinness's yeast likes that alkalinity. Now, I don't. The positive ions seem to be more sensitive for the yeast. The negative ions, like alkalinity, don't. That could be just because I'm still naive, and in 5 years I'm going to be sitting here going, yeah, we used to think it was just calcium and magnesium, but it turns out all these other ions. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. Okay. I'm willing to sit here and go, yeah, I'm going to step out on that limb and I'm going to dance on it, and when it breaks, I'm going to be back here going, yeah, it broke.
What would that
just
look
like I've done with enzymes.
What would a broken limb look like?
Well, it could be that you think that you've got it all under control, and then suddenly you get a different water that you're not used to. Like suddenly you're working in Dortmund, and it just doesn't behave by the rules that worked in Napa. And then when you figure out why, it's like, oh well, Dortmund's got a ton of alkalinity, and it just screwed this all up.
So what do we do? What does this mean for homebrewers? What do we do? How do we make better beer with this weird knowledge that you may or may not actually possess?
By going down by going down that exact path. Okay. First, fix your mash pH. Next, get your sulfate to chloride ratios right. Next, make sure you're getting a good hot break and getting your calcium right for your hot break. Then trying to figure out how your yeast is behaving. Just by walking down that road in that order.
Okay. That's the order.
In that order.
All right, so getting your mash pH. Now, how do you know what your mash pH is? You can get a pH meter, of course.
I don't think the paper's very useful.
You don't think the papers work that well at all? So.
And especially if you're colorblind, like AJ DeLange, they don't work at all.
Yeah. So what are those about? $79, $89 or $99?
Yeah, I think
a workable one.
Yeah, I think about $99.
You probably got to buy the storage solution as well.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You got to buy the storage solution.
And the probe kind of wears out after a while, so you got.
Well, and that's the nice thing about buying an expensive one.
Yeah.
Is the expensive one, the probe lasts a lot longer.
Okay.
So my first probe lasted me 7 years.
Yeah. And you got to properly take care of it.
Right. Yeah, that matters.
And you're using it every day. Homebrewer's not going to.
Right. Keeping it hydrated is really important. Hydrated with the storage solution is really important. Don't ever let it.
I've been through a few. So sometimes it dries out when you don't even know it because you're not using it. You're trying to keep it hydrated.
Well, so there's a gel inside the probe.
Yeah.
And when that gel is gone, it's done. So mine's got a vial that's about 3 millimeters in diameter and 6 inches long or 5 inches long of gel.
Lucky.
So that gel just starts dripping down, and you see it over the years. It's getting lower and lower and lower and lower. As long as you're storing it vertical, it doesn't dry out. That moment that you store it upside down and that air bubble goes to the top, your probe's done.
Yep. But at least they make it so you can change the probe.
For $300 for my probe.
Well, exactly.
And I have a $1,200 meter and a $300 probe.
Yeah. And I've been through a few of different quality of them, but when you're not using it as much, it's always an issue.
Yep.
I've had more wear out.
That's where the papers come in. And the good papers are a lot nicer than the cheap.
Well, they've got newer papers too that are brighter colors.
Yeah.
Well, then
that doesn't help for AJ DeLange.
Yeah. So I found when I had my meter working, and I was using RO water, I knew that was 7.0 to begin with. I know from experience that my mash pH in a given grain bill is going to be fine. So, I don't need to measure anymore. So I'm thinking about you can measure for a while just to see what kind of numbers you're getting in your brewery with your water and the way you're treating that water.
And exactly. So there's times with, like, if it's a recipe that I make every week.
You don't test the pH of the
I don't test
water.
I test the alkalinity because my alkalinity is a variable. And then I use acid to set my alkalinity.
Right.
Once that parameter's set, I know it's going to track through. Yeah. And if I'm bored and I'm sitting there and Facebook's particularly boring that day, then I'll throw a pH meter.
Right. Sure. And unless you're using 100% RO water, testing your water regularly is a good idea still, because there's going to be seasonal changes.
Especially if you're surface water.
Right. Yeah, depending on where you're getting your water from.
If you're surface water, it's going to rain and it's going to be lower in alkalinity.
Right.
And then it's going to be really dry and it's going to raise the alkalinity. It's going to concentrate.
And so with the pH adjustments and alkalinity adjustments with acid, is it possible to, with equations and just like software based on your grain bill and everything, can you predict exactly how much you're going to add ahead of time, or is it more reactionary?
Well, I react in the next batch.
Right.
So some people will react in the mash tun. They'll stir some phosphoric acid in the mash tun.
Okay.
Or maybe add some baking soda to the mash tun. And they'll fix things that way. I never do that.
Why not?
It's too big of a mash tun.
Well, yeah. I don't want to stir it again. It's a lot of work to get stirred in the first time. I don't want to stir it again. So I just react the second time. And I make so many batches. I'm doing 100 to 120 batches a year by myself. So,
but a home brewer can react.
A home brewer can react. That's exactly right. And different grains have different acidities. Mm-hmm. So if you all of a sudden you change lots of grain.
Is that handled in brewing software? I don't.
The person who's doing the best forecasting of all of this is Martin Brungard. And his brewing water.
Does he consider the grain bill? Does he consider the grain bill?
But he knows more about the water than anybody so far. It's the best spreadsheet that's out there.
Yeah.
Pay the little licensing fee, whatever it is, $10.
Oh wow!
And
shareware, isn't it? So.
Well, I think it's shareware, but I think you get a better version if you pay the fee.
And so, what does the spreadsheet do? You can build your water and know what you need to add.
Yeah, you can build your water, and it's the best at giving you a good outcome. And it does a rudimentary job of acids. Okay. Adding acids to an alkaline water isn't as simple as you would think, because it has to do with the pH of your addition. So if you
pH of the acid you're adding.
No, the pH of the starting water.
Okay.
So if you add 10 milliliters of phosphoric acid, I'm just making up numbers here, and it's a pH 7 water, it's going to behave a little differently as far as the calcium is concerned than if it's a pH 8 water.
Okay.
Even if you have the same alkalinity going on, because the point that you add that phosphoric acid sets what's going to happen with the calcium. So there's some weird things that go on. The charts are in the book if you want to just draw your finger on the chart. And figure
in the water book?
In the water book.
Okay.
Yeah, because in my experience, it's kind of like a cliff. Like you get to a certain point,
especially with organic acid.
Right. Yeah. If you're adding acid where it's not doing a whole lot, but then the next 10 mils or whatever, all of a sudden just
you're right on a buffer.
That'll do it. Yeah, that runs out of buffer.
Right.
I always like to compare it as to trying to measure a battery through a wall. You don't know if you're measuring a really big battery or a little battery. You could be measuring a watch battery because you can't see it, and that would be a light buffering water. But if you have this really big heavy buffering water, it's like measuring a big battery. If you understand impedance, impedance is the better analogy.
Oh, yeah.
But if you don't understand impedance, then the battery works as an analogy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it is really the same math as impedance, with different springs.
Right.
Yeah.
He broke me again.
Yeah, do you know what impedance is?
Well, AJ DeLange kept trying to get me to explain it as impedance, and it's a great analogy. Yeah. AJ was one of our technical editors.
Okay.
And impedance really is the best way to explain it. But you have to already know what impedance is.
Or you could think of it, too.
In order for you to know what impedance is, you kind of have to know already.
It's like resistance, but it's more dynamic than that.
You're either born knowing or you weren't.
So my best example of impedance is you tie a string to a rope to a concrete wall.
Hold on. A string to a rope.
To a concrete wall.
Okay, got it.
You pull it tight.
Okay.
And you shake a wave in it.
Okay.
Every knot is an impedance mismatch. So if it was just a rope, the wave would go down to the wall and it would bounce back.
Okay.
But because you have a knot, some of it's going to bounce back at the knot, and some of it's going to carry through to the wall.
It'll break the wave.
And so you get a little bit of a reflection at each impedance.
Okay.
But if you made a tapered knot, it's going to do better. So that tapered knot would be an impedance transformer. Now, if you think about that long enough, it actually matches what buffering looks like, and each PK is a different knot.
Okay, you can also look at it this way. You got
a weight on a spring.
Well, the buffering capacity too.
Yeah.
Think of it as a big battery,
Okay.
12 volts, and
Okay.
a little battery is 12 volts. You start drawing current off of them. Pretty soon, the little one's going to give out.
One's going to give up
and the other one's going to keep going. So if you've got a high buffering capacity in that solution, it's like the bigger battery. So you keep putting acid in, it's kind of using it up until that buffering capable goes away. It's going to go away a lot faster with a small battery.
Right.
So that's the kind of difference. So when you have that water and you don't know what is in it or your wort, you're adding into it, and it gets frustrating because you're adding milliliter after milliliter after milliliter after milliliter.
And then all of a sudden one drop makes all the difference.
And then you're checking every time.
Yeah.
You're checking every time, and then all of a sudden half a drop, and bam, it just goes away.
That's the saturation point, right?
So what I learned, I know my system, I knew my water. I knew I could throw 5 milliliters in there, bam, and then I could start testing.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. So you know where you are already. Yeah. Instead of just going every time.
Because I have 3 water sources, that makes it really hard for me. So it's faster for me to measure the alkalinity than to try to dose acid in and figure out where I'm at. So I measure the alkalinity first, then I know which water source I'm at.
And so how do you do that? How do you
I
measure
do a
alkalinity?
titration. So I pull a sample. You put in a chemical that changes color at a specific pH, and then you add drops of acid until it changes to the color. Okay. You count the drops, you multiply it by the little formula in the package.
It tells you what the buffering was.
And it tells you if you added this much of this, then that tells you had this much of the alkalinity in there.
Yep.
And it changes color at that point. And
that's how I do it.
Yeah.
So you would say that a home brewer, if their water is like high in alkalinity, which would be like what, above 7.5, or what would you consider?
Well, no, there's different ways of they buffer the pH up to protect water systems. It doesn't
so you don't
necessarily
know.
be alkalinity.
All right, so
it's better
if
to
you're
measure
not getting your
alkalinity.
mash pH and you need to adjust,
You can add acid or you can add baking soda. And I would recommend phosphoric to lower it.
Because it does a quicker job. It's more...
It's safer. There's already phosphates in
and
the
most
mash.
home supply stores sell that at a diluted...
I think it's got a better taste.
Yeah,
too.
less flavor.
And because the phosphates already exist in the mash. You're not really adding anything that's not already in the mash.
Yeah, I've heard of using lactic, but that would...
lactic to me has a flavor.
Yeah.
Sulfuric,
Yeah.
hydrochloric have a flavor.
Okay.
I personally prefer sulfuric, but that's just because I
you're
like
supposed to
weird
play
things.
with that.
Yeah, I know. Homebrewers aren't supposed to play with that.
Yeah.
They might like their eyes.
And what if you also you want to add, even if your water is alkaline, you may still want to add some calcium carbonate. Would that have a tendency to lower the pH?
Well, so it raises the pH.
Okay.
So I add sodium carbonate.
Okay,
which is baking soda. And the reason why I add sodium carbonate is because it dissolves instantly.
Yeah.
Whereas calcium carbonate, it's hard to get.
It's a chunk, and it just sits at the bottom.
And I used to think in the mash pH you'd get some in. Yeah, I don't think you get any in.
No.
I mean barely any. So just add sodium carbonate.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Is there a threshold to how much of that you'll add?
I certainly go to 30 ppm alkalinity.
Of sodium?
Of alkalinity.
Oh, okay.
What about
right? So if you look in Martin's spreadsheet and you start adding baking soda, and it says that you've gotten to 30 ppm alkalinity, I'll go all the way there, and I cannot tell a difference. I can't tell that I'm using sodium and not calcium. Above that, I haven't tested.
Oh, okay.
So for me, 30 ppm is a nice number for me. It's something I like to brew with.
Do you ever? So you don't ever need to add more than that. So you don't have like a backup.
If you're doing a big stout, you might want more than that. But the lightest my city water is ever going to be is 60 ppm. So if I need more than 30, I just start with city water and work my way backwards.
Okay.
So for me, no, I never have to use more than that.
What would you just go to chalk, like calcium carbonate, or
no, if you want to use calcium carbonate, you're going to have to either acidify it to get it to dissolve, or bubble CO2 in. That's the only way to get it to dissolve.
Right.
Is to bubble CO2 through it overnight.
And so, if you're at your
put it in a corny bubble.
If you're at your sodium maximum, what would be the next option that you would go to?
Well, I don't know.
Oh, you don't know?
I'd have to think about it.
Oh, okay.
Slake lime, calcium carbonate.
Calcium carbonate
with CO2.
Okay. Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, but bubble CO2 to get it to dissolve.
Okay.
It will dissolve eventually.
Okay, because of the bubbling action, or because the actual CO2 does something?
Yeah.
Really?
It's an acid.
CO2 makes carbonic acid.
Yeah. And so it makes the whole solution acidic, and so you can actually get the calcium carbonate to actually dissolve. If everybody's seen it, you throw it into the boil kettle or
it
just goes blam to the bottom. You stir and you stir.
Spins in the bottom, spins
and
around.
you stir and you stir and you stir.
Wow.
And then you say, oh, cool, I added that.
But if you put it in a corny and you flush it with CO2 all night long, it'll actually go into solution.
Okay. That's a good tip.
That's a lot of CO2.
That's a lot of CO2.
As you right.
That's a lot of CO2. Is it worth it at that point? I don't know.
It depends if you care about your carbon footprint.
Well, that's true.
I'd love people to actually explore the upper limit of baking soda and see what they find.
Get a lot of sodium in there, and it's gonna change the flavor of the beer.
To me, sodium tastes sour. Once you get to a certain point, sodium tastes sour.
Yeah.
Okay. People say it tastes salty. It doesn't taste salty to me. It tastes sour.
Well, it depends what they're adding. So if they're adding sodium chloride to get their sodium.
Well, chloride has its own taste.
You're going to get that. Sodium to me, for a certain point, it kind of rounds it out. It gets that's a sweet roundness, but then it gets to a certain point, and then it gets sour.
That's what I think too.
And then you also got to watch your sodium sulfates because they clash really bad.
Yeah, sodium and sulfate clash is really bad too.
So you don't want to have both of them high.
Michael Lewis taught me to look for the sour, and once he did, it kind of ruined me for sodium.
Because you saw it all the time.
Because we had a water softener on the system, so we were getting sodium into the strike water at the time.
Oh wow!
Oh,
and that's
water softeners are bad.
Really?
Yeah.
For brewing.
Yeah.
For brewing. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I don't even know what they're good for. They're good for my dishwasher. I still have my water softener connected to my dishwasher.
Okay.
They're good for
soap.
good for your
not good
steam
for the
boilers.
shower.
Good. Well,
I mean, I guess. Maybe. It's better than putting in your tap water.
RO's probably better.
Yeah. Actually, maybe not because it's more corrosive. In a steam boiler situation.
So you get your balance right, and then once your balance is right, then you add the just RO to top it off.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, you need like 1,000 ppm alkalinity or something.
Yeah.
I'm not good at boiler chemistry. I had to write a couple paragraphs about it. So I read this like 1,000-page book, and it's like, oh, this hurts.
Should have come to me. I know a lot about. What did you say?
But boiler
impedance.
Water. Boiler water. Yeah, I both of those things. Yeah. I'm actually a novice. A master. Wait, what's the
novice?
One?
You're a novice, actually.
I don't know. Well, look, man. With all this talk about water, maybe some of these guys that are opening breweries now will share this information. They'll do this test and they'll kind of share it with you.
Well, and that's the other thing I think that's really important is taste your water. The best piece of lab equipment in the brewery is you.
Yeah.
And taste your water before you brew with it.
Okay.
And if you think, oh, it just tastes like water, actually it doesn't. And it actually changes every day. You're going to get used to it. You're going to get used to what the normal flavors are. I'm to the point now where I can tell if they've switched reservoirs in the shower.
Oh,
I'll be in the shower on my way to work, and it's like, oh, crap. They switched this over to Milliken. That's going to change my whole brew day.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm sure your wife loves hearing about that, too.
My wife's incredibly patient. I got really lucky. I met her at a coffee house, but we hung out in breweries for 6 years before we dated.
Oh, wow.
What's her level of understanding of water? Has she learned enough through osmosis?
I think she probably has.
Right.
And I think she knows a lot more than she gives herself credit to. I think she just assumes that everybody in a brewery knows more than she does.
Yeah.
And she doesn't really talk. But then somebody will say something and she'll be like, no, that's not how it works.
Perfect. Are you kind of working with some of these new startup breweries on water chemistry? Is that something you do, kind of trade information and figure it out?
I love hearing anybody's opinions on anything. So I'll talk all about beer all day long. I don't ever charge anybody, so I'm not really a consultant. But I'll go hang out and say, hey, well, have you tried this? Have you thought about that?
Yeah.
I tend to teach by asking questions, and I like to see what people think. And and I'm more than willing to expound a harebrained idea if I think I can come up with one.
Okay.
And I like to see if they work. And a lot of times I get my ass handed to me by people that know more than me. A lot of times I know more than them, and it becomes a good idea. And so I like the dialogue. And so I talk to these new brewers a lot. A lot of them are kind of secretive. And I think that's kind of weird.
Okay.
I don't think the brewing industry was built around secrets. I think the brewing industry was built around sharing.
Yeah.
And I try to encourage these young kids, hey, if you want to be 50 years old and be drinking good beer, you better be out there teaching people what you know.
Right.
Otherwise, you're going to be drinking crappy beer when you're 50.
Totally, right? Yeah. I mean, I guess there's something to be said for spreading the wealth of information. Because we all
if you want to retire
beer.
with good beer, right?
Right. Well, and especially as homebrewers, we know, like Tasty was saying earlier, you and I make the same recipe. It's not going to be the same beer.
I can't even get my assistant to make the same beer.
Right. So it doesn't matter. So it's all in the end point, the end game of upping everybody's game. We're all trying to make better beer.
I think we should be.
Yeah.
I think that's our goal.
Well, I think we need to be.
Yeah, I think
there's some weird beers out there, man.
Yeah, like milkshake IPA.
Yeah.
I didn't want to say it.
Yeah. Right. You're listening, Vermont,
actually,
right?
Once somebody taught me what a milkshake IPA was supposed to be and why they were doing it, I like the idea. I don't think it's an IPA. But I like the idea.
It's not an IPA.
This isn't a triple.
It's not a good idea.
This is a brand new style of beer, right?
I don't know what that is. That's paint thinner.
Well, it is. It was designed to be a hop tincture. It really was.
Okay. Well, then
you succeeded.
You did.
Well, now that I've succeeded in it, now I can try to push it around into something that's more drinkable.
Okay.
And that was my goal. Well, how far to the edge can I push it? Well, now that it's on that edge, what
right?
can I do?
And I know that, and that's why I feel comfortable saying that that's what it is. It's undrinkable for me. Because I know that you're farting around, and I know your feelings aren't going to get hurt. Like normally, I wouldn't tell that to anybody. But this, to me, it's I don't even. It's not even approachable. It's not even the realm. But you weren't necessarily going for that.
No,
you weren't trying to make a marketable beer that everyone's going to stand in line for 10 years.
The idea was to go all the way to the hairy edge and then see how far back I have to go in.
Yeah.
It wasn't to. I got tired of going from sweet to dry. I wanted to go all the way dry and then work just barely sweeter.
Are the owners of Downtown Joe's really excited when they come in and you've got beers like this?
I am only held accountable to my accounting.
Okay. Yeah.
I could walk in tomorrow and say, we're going to drop all the ales and we're only going to do Belgian beers.
That's awesome.
Or I could walk into and you know what the owner would say to me? He'd look at me and say, wow, that would be a lot of work. And I get paid salary, so he doesn't care how much I work.
Yeah.
Well, the fact that this is even an experiment, but it's available at the pub.
Right.
Right.
That makes it.
That's what I'm saying.
Ballsy, dude.
Yeah,
right. Again, I'm only held accountable to my numbers, and the total cost of goods in this experiment is less than 1% of my pour cost for the year. So it's going to make this 0.01% blip in some number somewhere that some accountant's going to go, eh.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
I mean, I like that you have the freedom to explore. Because if you didn't, what would you be doing?
Holograms.
Holograms, probably. Yeah, okay.
He'd be up in his glider.
Yeah.
That he built.
That I almost built.
The spreadsheet. He'll be up in his glider spreadsheet.
Yeah. Pultruded carbon's like the coolest thing ever, though.
I don't even know what that means.
Pultruded carbon. The weakness.
I like how you said it again.
I'm sorry. Didn't I say it loud enough?
Right. Yeah.
If you overlap carbon fibers, they get weak. So you don't want them to overlap. You want them to all be in a line. So they built this process where they actually get carbon pulling through a die. That aligns
individual atoms?
Individual strands.
Oh.
And they
think bigger, Warren.
Sorry.
And they actually pull it into a straight line, and it's called pultrusion.
Like extruded, but it's pulled.
But it's pultruded.
Okay.
Right, just like extrusion, but pull.
Yeah.
They can't push it into a straight line, but they can pull it into a straight line. And the pultruded is just phenomenal for glider design.
Phenomenal.
Oh God!
You could always
I love it.
You could finish cashmere too.
Yeah. Now you can see why Justin's shows go for 4 hours.
Yeah. So okay, wait a minute.
Right.
I think I'm getting it.
So why isn't the opposite of pultrusion pushtrusion?
Because extrusion sounded better, I guess.
Okay.
I don't make up these words. I'd like to.
It sounds like you are.
Yeah, I just helped define it. That's all.
I would have bet. Yeah, you made that up.
No, actually, Google pultruded carbon rods. Just phenomenal engineering.
I won't, but I appreciate the recommendation. Look, we have a lot, as you know, a lot of engineers are homebrewers. So
Yeah,
I guarantee you someone will be like, oh, and that'll be the greatest thing since.
Or they're already using it going, oh, yeah.
They're pulling one right now. I mean, I pull on a rod, but it's not carbon fiber.
Yeah, I don't remember which brand I was designing around, but it was like one specific manufacturer.
Okay.
That I was designing.
Great. Good. God bless Colin. Before we take a break, I do want to tell you guys about Great Fermentations. If you want to make some great beer, head over to greatfermentations.com. But aside from all the ingredients and all the kind of cool equipment they have, they are the largest carrier of Blickman products on the web, speaking of excellent design.
Blickman does a great job, by the way.
And they really do.
I love Blickman.
They provide the same-day shipping on some main items where most vendors can take up to 3 weeks. Their staff is some of the best trained in using the Blickman products, so you know you're going to get great customer support. Head on over to greatfermentations.com. Check those people out. They're great folks, great supporters of the BN, and we definitely appreciate it.
Cool equipment, too.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, here's what we're going to do, Colin. We're taking a break. This is our last break. And then we're going to come back. We're going to do some beer news if you want to hang out. And Twitter game. And then, I don't know, that's about it. And we'll go. We'll get the hell out of here. It's the session, everyone. Stay tuned.
Cheers.
Yeah.
We'll be right back.
Take your pants off.
You're listening to the Brewcasters on the Brewing Network.
With over 20 years of experience making world-class craft beer and more than 100 gold medals in international competitions, Moylan's Brewing Company is not just a pretty face in craft beer. Just ask Brendan Moylan.
What do we got here? The beer of the hour. Moylan's, gotta love that big M. It's like a sign of awesomeness. Woo-hoo! It's got an extra kick to it. Let's pour this bad boy. Oh, yeah. Oh, Moylan's. The end of the night when the kids are finally in bed, the wife's in bed, nobody's bothering your ass anymore. That's Moylan's time. Moylan's is for you. Yeah. It's to help you out. Yeah. It helps me out.
What?
Well, because it's freaking awesome. Northern California brewed. It's brewed with love.
With love?
Oh, yeah. Tremendous. And it's always best where?
Moylan's.
You gotta try it. On tap at Moylan's in Novato. They're friggin' awesome. Not only because I own the brewery, because I love the beer.
Cheers.
Boom.
Kilt Lifter Scotch Ale takes big beers to a whole new level with rich malt balanced perfectly with delicate hops, and now comes in 4-pack tall boy cans so you can take the party on the go. Or come to the brewery, take a tour, and try any of Moylan's fresh creations right from the source. Check them out at moylans.com.
Your support of the Brewing Network means everything to us. We couldn't produce shows without you. And we love giving you something extra for that support. Like Brew Your Own magazine. You already know it's a great brewing magazine full of recipes, equipment how-tos, discussions of beer styles, and brewing techniques. Whether you're new to brewing and just starting out or you're an old pro, you'll always learn something from the articles in Brew Your Own. Plus, there are amazing special issues like plans for building a Brutus 10 system, 250 classic clone recipes, and the Homebrewer's Answer Book. Brew Your Own magazine and BYO.com are awesome resources for any brewer, whether for yourself or as a gift. When you subscribe or resubscribe from the Brewing Network homepage, you directly support programs like this. Get a great magazine and support the Brewing Network. Subscribe to Brew Your Own right from thebrewingnetwork.com. A few things happened 30 years ago.
ARPANET migrated to TCP/IP, and the Internet was born. Revenge of the Jedi was renamed Return of the Jedi and opened in theaters. Mila Kunis and Emily Blunt were born, beginning a rad fantasy in my mind.
But all of that pales next to the fact that HopTech opened its doors and began blowing homebrewers right out of their mash tuns. HopTech doesn't fuck around. Real people shipping awesome shit straight to you. Their new website is fast and easy to navigate. Or just call 800-379-4677 and let badass bitch Jade and the gadget guy Roberto blow their warm load of customer service all over you. So visit the site or visit the store in Dublin, California, and support those that support you. Get your brewing on at hoptech.com. Tampa Bay has become a great destination for craft beer lovers with more than 60 breweries and counting, like Cigar City, Tampa Bay, and Coppertail Brewing. One of the newest breweries is Four Stacks Brewing Company in Apollo Beach. Four Stacks believes that the West Coast can't have all the fun, so while we feature West Coast beer like Stone, Ballast Point, and Green Flash on tap, we also brew hopped up ales to our liking in the West Coast style, even as they're truly Florida. Come in and see for yourself. Four Stacks hosts monthly homebrew club meetings, bottle shares, and partners with local restaurants for free food delivery while you enjoy your pint in their new tap room. Stop by Four Stacks Brewing and support the greater Tampa Bay craft beer scene at a brand new community-oriented independent brewery. Four Stacks Brewing, bringing the best of the West Coast style and attitude. Four Stacks Brewing Company in Apollo Beach, Florida. When I order a beer, I want my server to know more about it than I do. I want someone who enjoys good beer and loves helping others enjoy it too. I want someone who knows how to pour a perfect pint for every beer style. I want a Cicerone.
The Cicerone Certification Program is creating the type of people who help you enjoy great beer. Home brewers and craft beer lovers know beer is more flavorful and complex than ever, and it takes some serious knowledge to store and serve beer right. Cicerones know beer. There are 3 levels in the Cicerone program: Certified Beer Server, Certified Cicerone, and Master Cicerone. Cicerones are truly the sommeliers of beer. The best beer locations have a Certified Cicerone on staff. Relaxed and unpretentious. Cicerones are tested on storing and serving beer, beer styles, flavor and tasting, the brewing process and ingredients, and pairing food with beer. Learn more about your next beer guide at cicerone.org. Certified Cicerone, because it takes top talent to present a perfect pint.
You're listening to the Brewing Network. Because like beer, radio shouldn't suck.
All right, everyone, welcome back. We're just wrapping up here. I realized, Colin, I forgot to bring out your pale ale for the last segment. I think this is it. Okay. So we're drinking it now.
Okay.
Tell us about this beer, please, Colin.
It's beer.
Shit. I thought it might be, but I don't know. I wasn't sure.
It's definitely got a wetness factor.
This beer is actually, it's a little bit flat because of the way I filled the growler, but yeah. It's good. It started off as a tasty in my collaboration. And in it, I kind of kept all the same hops. I just kind of didn't make it an APA like we'd intended. I just made it a nice little easy drinking pale ale. And gosh, it's been one of the best-selling beers we've ever done.
I can see why. It's really good.
Yeah, it's delicious. Even flat.
Yeah, unfortunately...
not flat, but, it's lightly carbonated.
I would say it's at the low end of what you would expect an ale to be. Yeah. I like it. I drink it a lot.
Yeah.
It's one that if I'm back in the brewery and I'm thirsty, I'll go grab a pale.
Yeah. What kind of hops are in here?
The first edition is Chinook, and then the second... The second edition is Centennial, and the final edition is Centennial and Cascade.
Okay. Pretty basic.
And it's half Maris Otter and half Pilsner malt.
Okay.
Just those two? Are there not any specialties?
No, there's a little Cara in there. I used all British malts, so there's some crisp caramel.
Okay.
Which is like C15.
It's got a super complex malt flavor.
It really does, yeah. Very rounded.
I think there's only the 3. I think there's only the 3 malts in it. But it's, German Pilsner, it's Weyermann Pilsner, crisp Maris Otter, and crisp Cara.
Okay.
Might be a little tiny bit of light Munich in there.
Yeah.
But only a little bit.
Only the brewer would tell us for sure.
What kind of finishing gravity are you getting on this beer?
I probably should know that, huh?
-5.
Yeah,
no, is it above 1?
It's not complex enough, Tasty, so he doesn't know.
It's probably 1.2, 1.3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Plato.
Yeah.
Okay.
Plato.
Cool. Well, thanks for bringing it, man. It's a good
it comes with much
beer,
less
man.
of a story than the Triple.
I gathered that, man. Tasty's dying over here.
I was like that when you interview somebody on the radio and they're like, "Yeah, so tell us about your new project." It started last week.
Yeah.
Well, are you excited about it? Yes.
Yeah. I'm very excited.
That's another thing we didn't talk about. I have a radio show.
That's right.
Oh.
That's right. What's it called?
So do we.
It's called Beer Nuts.
Okay.
And we talk about...
get sued from Beer Nuts?
I hope so.
Okay, good.
It's the only way we'd get publicity. We have like the same 25 listeners. We're on an AM radio station that nobody listens to.
Yeah.
And we don't podcast it or anything, so you have to like be in driving distance from us.
Okay.
And we only talk about where to go drink beers in Napa. And we don't really, it's not geeky at all. It's just like, hey, if you want to have a good sandwich and a beer, go over to Bilko's.
Yeah. Oh, Bilko. I remember Bilko. Well, that's cool. Why don't you podcast it? Why don't you?
Because you'd have to edit it.
Why? Pull the commercials out?
Yeah, pull the commercials out. And, I start recording like 5 minutes before I go.
Yeah.
So you got to trim the tails and get the commercials out. And
you don't have time for that.
I know. I'm also not very good at it. So so it takes me 45 minutes to trim out a show.
Yeah. Well, then you could have designed 4 holograms by then.
Right. But it takes like a real tech 5 minutes because they can see the commercials start in the waveform, and they just cut them right out, and it's done. And I have to listen to the whole thing, and it takes forever.
Yeah, I hear you.
So I haven't done it. I still have all the shows. I've done about 70.
Wow.
So I still have all the shows. I don't know. Maybe one day some high school kid will want to apprentice at the radio station.
Yeah.
And a summer project will be to trim all my shows up.
Yeah, that'll be great. That'll be great for the kid. He's like, God, I hate this fucking show. How long is it? You 70 shows. How long is that? Is it once a week?
Yeah, it's every Tuesday at 10.
Okay.
And KVON 1440 10
a.m.
Yep.
Ew.
The
It's AM.
The little Good Morning Vietnam.
Yeah.
Right. So this is another wonderful beer drinking weather day in Napa Valley. And we drink beer on the show, and
that's cool.
Is that legal?
Yeah, it is actually now. You are allowed to drink on the air now.
That's
you weren't before?
Oh yeah.
No, you couldn't get intoxicated on the air.
Well, not intoxicated, but I mean
any consumption.
Really?
Yeah.
Because Justin and I would drink on the FM show all the time.
Well, but
you didn't talk about
it. We did. Did we not? I don't remember. So long ago.
I remember Carol Burnett getting hammered on the show once.
On your show? On our show?
On Carol Burnett show.
Oh, okay.
Your show. Oh.
Yeah. I was like, God, we had a good guest. I don't even remember it.
Yeah.
But
not on our show.
Fun. I've been I have to do Justin's job, which is a lot harder.
Yeah.
In fact, the first 3 months, I would kneel in the shower and throw up for about an hour.
Really?
Before I could go.
Oh,
it was really hard for me.
Wow.
Now it's easy. Now I don't even pay attention to it. I just show up and chit chat. But
yeah, I mean,
it was really hard in the beginning.
Did the throwing up in the shower help?
It was a necessary evil.
Much easier than
I got there.
Yeah.
It's not a visual that's doing me any good right now.
When you were throwing up in the shower, were you like, oh, the fucking reservoir changed again? That's even worse. Fucking shit.
Yeah, I was really anxious about it. It was really hard to get used to.
Yeah, it's not an easy job for sure, man.
Being on this side of the mic is way easier.
It totally is. Yeah, it totally is. Can you hear it like online?
No.
It's just,
actually, I think there is a way to get it online, but it only accepts like the first 50 listeners.
Okay. First come, first serve.
That's 40 extra.
Are you at your quota yet?
Yeah.
What's that?
Do you have 50 listeners?
My mom sometimes can't get on. That's all I know.
Okay.
My mom tries to listen
Just
to me,
saying it.
and she can't get on sometimes. So
well, that's nice.
That's all I really know.
Yeah, that's fair to say it that way.
Right.
Yeah.
Isn't that when Price is Right is on?
But I haven't broadcast TV in 15 years.
Well, that's cool, man. You loving it?
I like it, actually.
Yeah.
It kind of breaks up my Tuesday.
And what else are you going to do?
Right.
Drive a couple miles over to the radio station, do a show, go back to work.
Come back, and there you go. Broken Up Tuesday. What'd you do? My radio show. It's no big deal. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
And my first wife was really into radio. That's kind of why I had a fun time with Justin in the beginning, because I could tell right away he was radio trained, and wanted to see him grow, wanted to see him succeed, And because my wife was a producer. My wife was a producer of the 6th largest news talk station in the country.
Oh, yeah.
And so I knew a lot about radio. I just had never done it. Mm-hmm. So now I get the chance to run the board and do all that
it's a
weird
blast.
little geeky stuff.
Yeah, it's a total hoot.
Miss the commercial. Talk through the end of the show.
Yeah.
All the things that you're not supposed to do.
Exactly.
I think I've made every mistake my wife told me not to do. Yeah.
Well, was that on purpose?
No.
Because she's his ex-wife?
Yeah.
You can't tell me what to do.
You start talking, and then all of a sudden you look at your countdown timer, and you've got 10 seconds left. It's like, oh, crap. It's not like this show where you can just run on for an extra hour.
Well, you can, but, you can. I was going to try to church it up a little bit. But, the good thing about podcasts is that...
You can trim out.
You can trim shit out, and people expect it to be kind of just long and drawn out, and you can flounder and flub a little bit, and it's fine. But like broadcast radio, you got to be on your shit.
You're really trying.
Yeah.
And it's funny, it's like the station manager's like, don't worry about it. If you're 30 seconds over, just run over a spot or something. And I'm like, well, but I've got a little bit of pride in what I do. I want to do it better. I want to like just nail it to the second every time. And that's kind of fun, a fun little challenge in itself. In addition to trying to actually make the show sound interesting.
For sure, man. And you can definitely tell that folks who just old radio dogs, man, who've been on the radio for 20 years, because they'll hit it every time. They'll hit the post and lock it out every time, man.
And then they can also talk about Alka-Seltzer, and it's interesting.
That's true. Let me tell you a little secret about it. And to get more of this pale ale here. Speaking of pale ales, Doc, we were talking a little bit earlier about Pico Brew, and you are brewing on my Pico Brew.
Yeah, but I'm not doing a pale ale.
But you're not doing a pale ale?
No.
What are you doing?
I'm going to do a Belgian Golden Strong. And so I'll be adding in the dextrose later on and all that kind of stuff.
Doing the whole thing?
Yeah.
So you haven't brewed it yet, but you did, what did you do?
Oh, I did all the research on how it works and everything else because you were no help. And
what are you talking about?
I asked you questions about this, that, and the other thing. And so
what?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yep.
Nope.
Yep.
You came over to about how the Pico Brew works?
No. Yeah, that and then a lot of it. You just like hook this to this and hook that to that. And I want to know why and what it did and how this...
Hold on a second. This is your problem. This is your problem. Okay, you've broken me down over the years. Here's your problem. You came to my house and you said, what I need is for you to go over step by step all the shit that happens in the Pico Brew. And I go, I can totally do that. It would be better if we did like a water brew so I could show you how it works. And you go, no, I don't got time for that.
Just want to know, okay.
Right. So you come to my house and I start doing it and you go, but where does this go? I have to go.
Yeah.
I don't have time. So suddenly,
my life got complicated right there.
Suddenly, it goes from Doc's issue to now JP's fault.
Of course it is.
Right. Okay. I just want to make that clear that I actually was really trying to help you, and you blew me off.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Continue on with the story.
Yeah, but there's a lot of time elapsed between then and now.
And so I was concerned about you because I gave you the instructions, but the instructions have kind of changed. They've updated the instructions since then. So I wanted to check in on you and make sure that you were doing okay.
It's actually really simple. I just want to know the mechanics of what happened because I want to know if something messes up in the middle of it. I got to be able to fix it in the middle of it.
Yeah, totally.
And I want to know how...
Or what, waste 2 gallons?
Yeah. It's my time. Believe me, it's my time.
Yeah, you push the start button?
You push, basically, you load it up and...
Yeah.
So how clean is it?
Well, you got to tell it the mash temperature.
It's clean.
That's all in the recipe.
I did a hot water rinse with it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you're supposed to actually clean it after every 5 brews,
right?
But you can rinse in between,
right?
How many rinse cycles have we done?
It's been used.
Doesn't matter. I'm cleaning it anyway.
Yeah. It's best that you do. It's best that you do.
And see, I knew this about you, and so I didn't say anything.
Yeah,
because I knew you were going to do it anyway, regardless of what I told you.
Right.
Because my word doesn't have any sort of weight on it with many people.
You can say it.
No. So whatever I say to you, it doesn't matter. No. You're going to do whatever you do anyways.
Yeah.
So I didn't tell you, but it was clean 2 brews ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Still going to get clean.
I know.
But it is looks like it's fantastically simple.
It's totally easy.
It does it all itself. It cycles it through a keg.
Yeah.
Which is really pretty cool.
It's easy.
Yeah.
Well, so what have you done? So you haven't brewed, but you formulated the recipe. You got into the actual website.
Yeah, I got into the website. Okay. Looked at they have stock recipes on there, and you can formulate your own recipe.
Yeah.
They make it real easy, so you can just click buttons, or it says custom, and you can hit the custom button. And
how fast did you hit that custom button?
Yeah, right away.
All right.
So I basically formulated my own recipe in there, and it prints. You can print it out and gives you all the kind of cool parameters on everything. As it's brewing, it has a graph that comes through because it'll hook up Wi-Fi or Ethernet.
Yeah,
and then it goes on the website too, and then that's how it comes back to your computer. I haven't done that one yet.
Yeah, well, it pulls down from the database, so it'll connect, via the internet through the database, and it'll pull your library into the machine. So you don't need to be on the internet the entire
but you can
time.
actually watch the graph from your computer.
Yeah, if you want to do that, then you have to be connected.
Yeah, and you can see it actually what cycle it's in, where it is.
Yeah.
But while you're sitting out at the pool on your cell phone,
yeah,
making big deals.
As Beardy said, you dump the stuff in it, slide the tray in, hit the button.
Yeah, and you're good to go.
And it just goes. And I've seen it. Like at more beer, it's just sitting there going.
Yeah,
and like nobody's looking at it.
Everything's fine. There's no boil over.
Yeah,
there's no need.
It just goes.
So how was the recipe side of things?
That went pretty smooth, actually. They have a lot of pull-down menus. Makes it real easy. I'm not having to type in crap, which is
that is the worst, dude. Yeah,
you're typing in the ingredients. You're typing in, the parameters of that ingredient and everything else. The pull-down menus were actually really pretty good.
Good, yeah. I like the interface. And so I was curious to see how you were going to deal with it because, I kind of got walked through it, and I've used it a couple of times, and I've taught other people. And but you and I didn't even touch the website stuff, so I was like, okay, this will be interesting to see how you can handle
I've just
them.
played around on there somewhat. They have other databases. You can get stock recipes. You can pull other people's recipes.
Yeah.
It's pretty intuitive. It's kind of cool eye candy. It's got pretty colors and things on it. But the drop down menus are key. I mean, it makes it really easy, and they're really complete.
Yeah.
You can pull your step mashes if you want. Do all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty helpful. When are you brewing? When are you going to do that?
Well, I was going to brew this last weekend, but I decided that since I don't have a 7-gallon conical yet, now I'm gonna get one.
So you bought a 7-gallon conical because you didn't have one? You didn't want to ferment in a carboy, or did you want one anyway?
For the one time he's using
that's not your
Pico
brew, right?
I know.
It comes back home with me when you're done.
Right.
Okay. Does your conical come?
Well, I don't have a Pico brew yet.
Fair enough.
I didn't want to worry about temperatures, and I'm going to double batch it.
Yeah.
So it'll be a 5-gallon brew, and with that, my 12-gallon conicals aren't going to handle it. My 27-gallon conical's not going to handle it.
Right.
So I'm going to just have to. That's why I got a smaller conical, and it'll be heat and cooled.
Okay.
So I can just put it. I'm trying to make this whole thing, since it's a push button and set it and forget it. I want the fermentation to be the same thing.
Yeah.
And I want to see how easy it's going to be, because I haven't brewed in a year, at least.
Wow.
And because I just haven't dragged my stuff out to do it. I don't have my brew house anymore.
Yeah. What happened to that?
Shut the fuck up. I'm not bitter about it.
No, you shouldn't be.
So I just haven't wanted to drag everything out. But if I can do this kind of brewing where it's going to be simple, easy, and that's what I'm trying to get the most out of it, being that way. And if it's going to be set it and forget it, I mean, it's a lot of prep work still. I mean, I've got to do the starter, I've got to do the recipe prep, that kind of stuff.
Totally.
But it's not the same as a full all grain brew that you're doing cleaning stuff and throwing stuff, and I'm not having to watch it as much.
Yeah.
And I wanted the same thing to see if I could get that same kind of simplicity with the fermentation part.
Yeah.
I'm not going to come home at lunch and worry about how the carboy's doing because my house got hot all of a sudden.
Right.
And then I'm brewing shitty beer like you.
That's true. Hey, wait a minute. Yeah. Well, that's good, man. Let me know how it goes.
I'm just trying to get the most out of this thing.
Let me know how it goes.
And trying to get that. I have great expectations for this thing. I think it's going to be great.
All right. Awesome.
And I'll even let you have some of the beer.
Gee, thanks. Are you going to give it back to me clean?
Of course.
That's true. Let's do some beer news. How about that?
Yay.
All right. Ever since President Obama has eased travel restrictions to Cuba, American tourists have been plundering and pillaging the tiny country's most valuable resource, beer.
Which country?
Cuba.
Cuba.
Oh.
Yeah. You
Not
didn't know
cigars?
That?
Red Stripe?
Red Stripe. That's Jamaica.
Oh.
Yeah. Jesus, Warren. It's like you don't even know Cuba.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the southeast, right?
I think it's
of
been
the
illegal
US?
to know anything about Cuba up until recently.
Right.
Cuba.
Yeah. The two island favorites are called Cristal and Bucanero. And oddly enough, they're both brewed in some degree by AB InBev, which is kind of cool, have seen massive runs on their stock, so much so that some brands are going to great lengths to re-up. Bucanero are reportedly importing 3 million cases from their brewery in the Dominican Republic into Cuba just to keep up with the rising demand in their beer. Typically, that brewery produces around 19 million cases annually.
Whoa.
So they have to, I don't know, I thought that was pretty neat. 3 million cases. They're 3 million short.
So now they're exporting all that here.
It's Cuba.
Huh?
The Dominican Republic.
Oh, is that beer going into Cuba or
yes.
out?
No, into Cuba.
Oh,
from
I thought
the
it was
Dominican
coming
Republic.
out.
No, this is a problem with Cuba in regards to all the American tourism. It's like up 70% or some shit like that since last year.
Right, because 7 people went instead of 1.
Right, yeah, right. So there's a giant run on the beer. I just recapped the first sentence, the first paragraph for you. Long term, the demand can only realistically be met by building another brewery on the island. Part of the supply issue stems from the influx of private bars versus the state-run ones. Apparently, if you own your own bar in Cuba, you can buy and sell whatever you want. If the state owns your place, you are stuck with what they give you, and once you run out, you have to wait for them to restock you. So this is causing some customers to flock to privately owned joints, which apparently are on the rise, and they have the luxury of changing their buying habits to meet demand. The other issue, and perhaps more pressing for brewers, is the delays in shipments to the country of brewing malt from the Czech Republic. I thought that was weird. I mean, they're getting they're light lagers, right?
Yeah,
so I guess
Pilsner.
But there's delays in shipments, so I don't know if it's on the malting side or just shipping lanes. Something gets stuck in customs. I don't know, but there's actually a giant beer shortage that nobody saw coming. Thanks, Obama.
Wow, way to go.
I know, right? Anyway, I thought it was a good story. If you happen to be standing right now, anybody listening to the show, if you happen to be standing right now, just take a seat, because what I'm about to tell you may shock you. It will destroy your world. You ready for this? Colin, are you ready for this? You're sitting down.
Yeah.
Leffe brand, Leffe, the Belgian beer.
Okay, them too.
Them too.
Am I saying that right? Leffe? Leffe?
We'll go with that.
Let's go with that. Makers of classic Belgian beers, that brand is owned by AB InBev. What's more, it's not actually brewed in a monastery or by actual monks. Did you guys know that?
We knew that part, but I didn't know about the first part.
I didn't know that.
That changes everything.
If this is news to you, like it was to me, then congrats. You can join the latest class action lawsuit. Anheuser-Busch InBev has been sued by a U.S. beer drinker who claims he was duped into believing its Leffe brand beer was brewed in a Belgian abbey rather than mass-produced in an automated factory that also makes Stella Artois.
That's Artois.
Artois.
I thought it was Artois.
That's Adam and Eve beer. The proposed class action lawsuit was filed on Friday in Miami federal court by Henry Vasquez, an optometrist who said Anheuser's deceptive packaging caused him to overpay for Leffe beer, among them Leffe Blonde and Leffe Brune. Vasquez sued in the same court where Anheuser last year reached more than a $20 million settlement with drinkers of Beck's, who said the company passing their beer off as German, though it was made in St. Louis.
So these types of suits have actually won before.
This one, I think, was the first. Was it the first one?
The Beck's was the first one?
I think so.
Because there was a guy that was trying to sue Coors over Blue Moon, too,
that's
a while
right.
ago,
Did that win?
I don't know. That's why I was wondering. I'm like, why don't they just show the list of failures?
I think that lost,
and just not waste the Coors time with this?
Who knows, man?
The lawsuit states that Lef has not been brewed at an abbey since the Abaye, A-B-B-A-Y-E, so I'm not just retarded, that's what it says.
Well, you are retarded, but that's another story.
The Abbey de Lef was destroyed in the French Revolution around 1794, yet the Leffe label makes no mention of this, or even that the beer is brewed alongside Stella Artois in the same plant in Leuven, Belgium. Can you imagine the fucking label? It was brewed in the Abbey. Like, get over it, dude.
I do prefer knowing all of the other beers that are made at the same brewery of the beer I'm drinking.
I thought the French Revolution was a little earlier than that. So I'm just going to go fuck this place up.
Yeah, they just went out of their way. Yeah. The lawsuit seeks class action status for consumers nationwide and in Florida. Apparently, Florida is not part of the nation. Who bought Leffe within the last 4 years. It seeks compensatory and punitive damages and a formal declaration that Leffe is not made in an abbey or by monks. Meanwhile, the something called the Union of Belgian Breweries provides guidance for certifying that a beer is a Belgian Abbey beer, and Leffe actually meets these criteria. The representative of AB InBev said to some food news website, whatever, they said, "We believe that the labels on the Leffe are accurate and will vigorously defend our company against the lawsuit." So, I don't know what that's going to do. But,
what about the people that bought it 4 years ago in one day?
They're fucked.
Yeah, they should have known better?
They should have known better.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. How do you prove that you purchased? Do you have to, show receipts?
Right. Well, then he's disappointed because he overpaid. Right. How do you determine if you overpaid for a beer? Yeah.
Because it's imported.
How can you overpay for pretty much anything?
I don't know, because you're stupid.
You're the one who paid for it. No one made you pay that.
It's not a set price by a contracted price by anybody.
Well, he's in Florida. What do you want?
He's probably saying that if it's more than Stella, he paid too much.
That's his problem.
He's fixing it.
Is that his argument? Hey, all the beers from the same brewery must be the same price. Is that his issue?
I don't know. Oh. It might be. Here's one that it's more of a couple questions. So, Colin, I'd like to get your input on this. Beer drinkers love getting their hop sacks in a twist over small breweries that sell to larger ones. These buyouts are happening often enough that it's becoming common practice. All right, I made that up. Alongside these buyouts are larger breweries opening secondary facilities in places like North Carolina and Virginia, bringing huge revenue streams into those states. But what's not really talked much about is the large amounts of tax dollars being offered to lure these breweries to their destinations. More importantly, does that matter? Is there a difference in AB InBev buying half a company and fueling their growth versus, say, North Carolina offering $15 million to New Belgium just to move there, or giving Sierra Nevada $5 million in taxpayer funds to move to North Carolina? Or how about the state of Virginia giving $3 million to Deschutes to start a facility in Roanoke? As more and more taxes are used to lure brewers into states and cities far away from their original locations, how do the smaller regional brewers feel about what is essentially their money, their tax money, being used to bring in competition? Competition that has flashier marketing and a bigger name draw.
This happens in every industry, though. It's just not like the beer industry.
Yeah.
Texas lures people out of Silicon Valley all the time by making sweetheart deals. Discounted land, tax breaks.
Yeah, when they call it cronyism or whatever.
Yeah, well, I don't know what you want to call it, but it happens. But why not happen in the beer industry?
Well, and so that's true. It does happen.
Sriracha, the chili company, switched cities.
Oh, really?
On one of those sweetheart deals.
Oh, see, and so I'm not saying that's necessarily bad or whatever, but I read this article that there's the guy was making some sort of correlation between craft beer drinkers getting all pissy about their home team. Right, selling half of their entire brewery with the excuse of, we're gonna, this is the only way we can grow. Versus, so what's the difference in going, hey, you give me $15 million and I'll move to your city, and then that kind of, I guess, becomes more about the money aspect instead of, hey, what's good for the environment, what's good for us, what's good for our business, and even going deeper, should we be supporting breweries who grow on their own versus who take handouts from local governments? I don't know if it matters. I don't know if there is an answer. It's just it's a weird question.
It is weird, if you think about it, like if a brewery moved in next to me, I mean, some brewers consider that competition. I don't.
Yeah.
But if a brewer moves in next to me and they use my tax dollars to open, I might be a little butthurt.
I would be too.
Other than I would rather have a brewery next to me than 5 blocks away.
Yeah.
I want them to, if I'm too full, I want them to go next door. Tell they've had a few beers and I'm slower and they can come back. I want more breweries.
Just come to town anyway. I mean, there's like a dozen breweries in Asheville, North Carolina. Their business has never been better now that Sierra Nevada opened up.
And that's what I say about wineries. There's 400 wineries in the Napa Valley.
It's a destination.
And people go there because there's wineries there. Yeah. They're not competition with
each other.
And
then the $3 million that they're giving in from the state or local, whatever, it pales in comparison to the total expenditure. They're putting like $75 million into this installation. It's more of a token thing.
Well, and
those are small amounts. And that the government's
in the grand scheme,
the tax revenue they bring back will be a lot more,
right? And the infrastructure that these cities have to put in to support these breweries,
it might be more than that.
And so they have a bunch of small ones, and the city's like, well, we need to get somebody else who's going to use more in order to generate more revenue.
Right there,
so we'll give them $3 million now, but over the next 5 years, we'll be bringing in $10 million more.
Yeah.
So you spend 3 to get 10. Oh well, take that, craft brewers.
How much alkalinity does that cause?
Well, that depends on the region,
because it's all the same to me.
I'm told the Asheville water is really nice.
Oh yeah,
I think that's one of the reasons why people like to go there. The Asheville water is supposed to be really nice to brew with.
Just for the water.
The brewers in Chico say they like the Asheville water better.
Oh wow, that's cool. The BA released their top 50 brewers of 2015. They released those, the top
based
50.
On looks?
Yes, based on looks.
Well, you were number one.
No.
You had the best beer.
Top 50 U.S. craft brewing companies. Any guesses to who was number one?
InBev.
It was by sales volume.
Craft.
Volume?
It was by sales volume.
Yeah, sales volume.
So Yinling, Sam Adams, Sierra Nevada.
Yeah. Called it.
In order?
In that order, too.
Whoa, trifecta.
Yeah, number 4 is New Belgium, 5, Gambrinus.
Lagunitas
6, Lagunitas.
Why are they still on the list?
Well, because it's 2015, so there's an asterisk right by a couple of these, Lagunitas being one. Craft volume was prorated in 2015 or will be prorated exiting craft brewer data set in 2016. So that's kind of the point of this. So, okay, Lagunitas is number 6. Ballast Point is number 11. Breckenridge is number 47. So in the top 50 craft beer sales by volume, there are 3 breweries that will not be on this list next year.
Does Firestone Walker still gets to be on the list because of their type of deal?
25% owned or something like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I thought it was. I don't know. I mean, what's that going to do to the numbers this year?
The VP of sales at Lagunitas is a buddy of mine, and so I got to talk to him a lot about how that deal worked out.
Oh, really?
And it's going to be a really good thing for them. There is no 3-tier system in Europe. So trying to sell your beer in Europe is really difficult. It's a huge amount of infrastructure you have to build in. And here Lagunitas gets to that whole entirely built-up infrastructure already built in. Plus they get a huge cash influx.
And other continents as well, not just Europe.
Right. That's exactly
South
right.
America.
Right. But really they were trying to push hard into Europe, and they just couldn't do it. And this allows them to do it. They're not going to be able to produce their beer over there yet without building a brewery.
Yeah.
But it does give them the distribution network that they were lacking.
That's great. But I mean, what is that going to do for for the craft beer numbers? And we've kind of talked about this when these stories broke last year, right? Like, are we seeing the total number drop
I don't
because
think
they're going to
craft
exit?
beer is a meaningful term anymore.
I agree with you. I totally agree with you.
I think the term I like now is independent brewery.
I don't like you anymore.
No, that's not better.
No, that's not better.
It doesn't sing to me.
Yeah.
No.
Well, it doesn't sing.
I like brewery.
I think
I like beer.
What do they do at breweries?
Anybody who doesn't pay the low tax rate, so anybody over 40,000 barrels, isn't a craft brewer.
Okay, I see. Okay, so you have some.
You want to pick a volume?
Yeah,
I want to pick 40,000 barrels because that's where the taxes change.
Okay,
and that makes sense. And anything else doesn't really make sense to me. So 40,000 barrels.
Well, the Craft Brewers Association obviously wants to keep as many big players as possible.
Right.
Because they make their income.
They're getting tons of press because, beer's growing. But now, that's what I mean. Like in 2017, when we're sitting here reading this shit again,
What is it? What are the numbers going to look like?
It's going to be a down year.
Yeah. Who's going to be replacing them? So,
who was 51, 52, and 53? See, they will replace.
They'll be excited to be on the list.
Who was 36?
Well, I'll tell you right now. So this is all on Jay Brooks' website, the Brookston Beer Bulletin, and what he does is he annotates them, so he figures out who was first and who replaced everybody and what people are up and down from. So let's see. Lagunitas was number 11 last year. It was 10 this year. Firestone Walker was up 3. They're number 19. They were 22 last year. Ballast Point. Ballast Point last year was number 37. This year they're 17.
Wow.
That's a giant spike.
That's
I think Sully jumped too.
Sully jumped too, yeah. The 21st Amendment was number 49 last year, and they're up to 42 right now.
Nice.
Whoa, big jump.
That's fucking huge, man. Yeah. What number were you asking about, Colin?
I was asking about 36 because that's what I remembered Sully being. But
36. No, 30. Sully was 42 apparently. No, 49 last year.
Yeah, I knew it was 49 last year, but I saw he did a big jump this year.
Oh yeah, 36 was Summit.
Oh, Summit.
Which actually fell. And so, anyway,
nice beers.
Someone has to fall.
Someone has to fall. Yeah. Well, once you get lower, 15, like 15 and below, there's a lot of downs. There's a lot of, Stone is down 1 point. Brooklyn Brewery was down 1 point. Sweetwater Brewing, New Glarus was down.
Just
Alaskan Brewing's down. Yeah,
because the total's so big.
Right.
Totally, yeah. So like Alaskan Brewing, they were 26 last year. They're 29 this year. I mean,
I bet the production went up though.
Probably,
Yeah.
and so that's what I mean. Like some of these numbers kind of don't really matter except for your personal ties. Like that's cool to see Sully jump up like that. Like that's cool. That's awesome. Yeah. Firestone up 320. That's cool.
The top 10 are making a ton of beer. That's where the bottom numbers are so big.
Killing, dude. So, and the top 3, Anheuser-Busch was this is just top
overall,
right? AB InBev, number 1 for the last 10 years.
Yeah, by far too, right?
Yeah, Miller Coors, same. Pabst Brewing, same. So the top 3 have been the top 3 for 10 years or so, and Yuengling has been number 4. Boston Beer hasn't changed. North American Breweries, whatever that is, hasn't changed. Sierra Nevada, same as last year. New Belgium, same as last year. Craft Brewers Alliance, and then you start getting all the the other breweries washing out.
I believe Craft Brewers Alliance owns Trumer.
Oh, really?
I think Trumer's under that umbrella. Yeah.
Who else is in Craft Brewers Alliance? There's a few of them.
Isn't it
I forget
also
which
that
group
Texas
it is.
company? Isn't it Shiner? Aren't they Shiner as well?
I think Shiner and then
maybe
Red Hook, right?
Well, is Red Hook and Kona, or is that the other
Kona.
one? But is that the NAB? I get those confused. I get there's 2 groups, so I'm not sure which group they're in.
I get them mixed up too.
Yeah. But Kona and Red Hook and Widmer.
Widmer, that's right.
There's Red Hook. There's Widmer, Kona, Mission. Mission.
Mission.
Excuse me. Square Mile Cider, and that's about it.
In which one was that? Craft Brewers Alliance?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Craft Brew Alliance.
Oh, okay. Because then there was that NAB.
Yeah, I don't know about that one. Anyway, interesting numbers. I don't know if it necessarily means anything. Whatever. People like to read a bunch of shit into things, but I don't know. I thought it was cool, man. Seeing people, the ebb and flow of the beer industry, and then last but not least, there's a little fun story. I saw on the internets here. A driver was charged for buckling up his beer instead of his kids. This is in Australia, of course. Brome police have charged a suspended driver. So he already had a suspended license after he allegedly had cartons of beer buckled into car seats while children unrestrained in the footwells. Officers said they made the discovery on Wednesday during a traffic patrol of the Great Northern Highway. Police said several children, come on, man, several children, including a baby less than a year old, were lying on the laps of adults and in footwells while cartons of beer were piled onto the seats. A 27-year-old man has been charged with no authority to drive and failure to restrain a child.
Well, having a child in someone's lap is different than having them bounce around in the footwell.
Well,
like when I was a kid.
I was a kid, but they were both. The baby was in the lap. Everyone else was running around.
Well, you only have so many laps.
That's true.
The responsible part is he didn't want the cases of beer flying into the children.
That's
Right. You got to restrain something.
Yeah. There was a method to his madness.
Yeah.
Right. Well, there's probably some meth involved, too.
Kids are
The Kimberly District Superintendent Alan Adams said he was not surprised by the incident. Quote,
Not surprised.
quote, "We do have problems up here in the Kimberly."
Up in the Kimberly.
It shows some of the attitudes of some of our road users in the way that they see their priorities. We're doing our best to stamp it out through enforcement. We were also about to embark on public education, which is obviously needed in remote communities. I think he just called everyone hillbillies.
Drunken hillbillies, yes.
It's weird that you have to public education on. Okay, so if you have a limited amount of seatbelts, your children come before your 24-pack.
Right. Actually, this is a 30-pack of something called Emu Export.
Oh, wow.
Is it good?
Must have been a party that day.
No.
Oh, God. Superintendent Adams said he had serious concerns, quote unquote, about sly grogging in the area where people transport alcohol into nearby dry Aboriginal communities that have liquor restrictions. This is the third traffic action we've had at that location with significant amounts of alcohol being conveyed along that route. Blah, blah, blah.
Sly grogging is a great term.
Fucking sly grog, dude.
Yeah. What are you up to? Sly grogging?
Again, a great beer name. Come on, let's start brewing these beers, dude.
Actually, I just did a session IPA, and all the good names have already taken.
That's right.
So
we just
I had to resurrect one of my old names.
I've given you 4 in this show alone.
Yeah.
So I'm going to name it Lickety Split.
That's not already taken?
No, it was
I think you should.
It was 20 years ago. It was one of our beer names.
Oh.
That should be your fucking Triple IPA, because that's how Lickety Split. Yeah. Just kidding. What's the Twitter game, Warren? Let's do that.
Yeah. I think it was something like, since the BN logo changed, what's the new way to get the BN discount at Downtown Joe's?
What's the new way to get the BN discount at Downtown Joe's? Go ahead. I'm ready. I'm ready for these.
You're ready?
Yes, I'm
How
ready.
ready are you?
So ready.
Are you still ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Kim Beerley Wood says, be named after a fabric or a color. or just be a hologram.
Or a pattern.
Yeah.
Hi, Kimmy.
Ben the Brewer says, you disguise yourself as Tasty, come in through the back, and then drink for free somehow. Frank says, reciting years old... Yeah, I'm not reading it wrong. Reciting years old commercial...
I'm 13.
Yeah, guys. Reciting year-old commercials from memory backwards.
Okay, that's not bad.
Okay, how about the McDonald's one? 2 all beef patties, special sauce, let's, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun. Backwards.
Now.
Okay, go on.
Let's see. A.G. Stockwell says, a tattoo of all 296 pages of water, a comprehensive guide for brewers. Yan says, volunteer an hour at the glory hole.
That'll do it, man.
Jeff says, several ways. Visible side boob, knowing how to give or receive a low handy hug, or if your nickname is Tasty. John A. says, taking off your pants and wearing them on your head. Colin knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay.
Austin says, wear a mask that looks like John Palmer. Picture Downtown Joe's full of John Palmers.
That would kind of be amazing and scary. Amazingly scary.
Dustin says, show a hairy nip and yell, yep, yep, yep. I don't know what those two combined do, but...
Hairy what?
A hairy nipple.
And yep.
Like a hairy, I don't know, flash your titties, I guess is what he's saying. That confused. That broke Tasty.
Yeah,
he's like, I don't get it.
Why are nipples hairy?
Yeah, they shouldn't be hairy.
My head twist.
Brandon says, full back tattoo of JP and Beardy passionately embracing free wings.
I would support that.
Yeah,
I would support that.
I'd buy their wings
too.
Yeah. I would subsidize that.
Yeah. Wayne says, ask politely at knife point.
Okay. He knows Napa.
Ryan says, secret handshake, except the secret is that it's just a normal handshake.
That's a good secret.
Yeah. Louis says the BN Army should stop being so cheap and pay for something for once.
I don't think they understand how this works.
That was Louis?
Yeah.
All right.
This one. Yep, that's it.
Okay. All right, so here's the ones I wrote down. Feel free to add, add whatever your
favorite.
Yeah, add your favorite here. Kim Wood said something about be named after colors or holograms or something like that, right?
Yeah. Fabric colors.
Ben says disguise yourself as tasty. AG said get the water book tattooed all over you. Yan said volunteer at the glory hole. Brandon said a back tattoo of JP and Warren in a super awesome embrace or whatever. Passionate, thank you. And then Louis says the BN should fucking start paying for something. I'm paraphrasing.
I've got one more.
Okay, what is it?
Bring Blobber with you.
That would work.
Handcuffed.
That would do it.
Blobber gets free beer.
Yeah. Do we want to take any of these off, or are we ready to vote? Kim, Ben, AG, and Brandon, Louis.
Okay.
I liked Louis' answer. Just pay for something.
Just pay for something. Let me do this. Let me take AG's off the back, the water tattoo. It's good. Yeah. Let's take Yan's off the glory hole. Let's take the back tattoo of you and I off, Warren.
Man.
I mean, someone's got to get it.
Someone's got to get it. Yeah. That's the thing. So we have Kim Wood to be named after things, Ben to be disguised as tasty and drink for free somehow, and then Louis, the BN Army should stop being so cheap. Who is voting for Kim?
I'll vote for Kim.
Yeah. I'll vote for Kim, too.
Yeah,
Kim wins.
Hey, look at that, Kim, you won.
Look at that.
Nice
as
work.
Easy as that.
You, too, can be that easy. Okay, I think that was it, man. I think I hit all my live reads. I did all my things. Colin, I appreciate it, man. Thanks for coming in and
thanks for having me back.
Sparkling and shining, man. I know it has. Shouldn't stay away for so long. And you brought some good beer.
Well, thank you. And some weird beer.
But mainly some good beer.
It was interesting beer.
It was super interesting. Yeah, and I don't mean to beat a dead horse. It was real weird, but it was very, very interesting. So 6 months or a year, I wonder how the homebrewers are going to get a hold of that shit because people are going to want it.
Hey, I think so too. I think it's really useful, and it's it's going to take some experimenting.
Yeah, totally, man. God, you brought a lot of beer too.
Better first start on that again.
Give me a straw.
I don't need the growlers back. So.
Look at that. That's a computer handle and all that shit.
Right. Fancy.
Yeah.
Damn, dude.
It is green, though.
That's a green bottle.
It is a green bottle.
That's true. All right, Colin, where can we learn more about your beers? DowntownJoes.com, I imagine?
DowntownJoes.com. I don't know how updated the website is. But,
And what's the AM channel again?
KVON 1440.
KVON 1440. Your home of
AM
what's fermenting?
Your home of local sports. If you want to hear the local football game, the
local
vintage Indians or whatever it is.
Vintage Indians?
I think it's the Napa High Indians and the vintage, I can't remember. But we do broadcast the football games live.
Like the high school football game. Right. Little Johnny's parents.
But the same guy's been doing it for about 45 years.
Sure. Yeah. He probably lives in the booth or whatever.
And the guy's great. Has one of the best radio voices you've ever heard.
Really?
Just, amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, he's fun to listen to.
That's cool. What do you got to plug? Let's plug something for you. Got Downtown Joe's. Go there. That's more important. Buy the water book?
Yeah, buy the water book.
Where do you buy the water book at? More Beer?
Yeah, More Beer's got it. Brewers Association. You can order it from them.
Amazon?
Amazon's got it, but I don't make as much money there. So.
Yeah, go to More Beer. Go to More Beer. What else? What else you got to buy? Sell.
I don't know. I don't like selling shit. I like making shit.
What are you making that people can buy?
Nothing that you can buy.
Beer. What?
I'm actually my biggest home project right now is I'm building a new guitar making studio. So,
of course you are.
So one day you'll be able to buy a guitar.
Okay, well that's good.
Are you just going to make the studio and be done, or are you going to actually make a guitar?
He's going to make it and then destroy it and figure out how to make it better.
I was a guitar maker for 10 years before I was a brewer.
Oh, cool.
And so I still have about 30 sets of wood that are more than 20 years old now.
Oh, wow.
And I just kind of want to resurrect my tools. I still have all my tools and just kind of want to resurrect them, get them in a home, and maybe make a guitar for the kids or something.
I want to do that with my grandma.
before she dies.
Resurrect her. Okay.
I thought you meant make her into a guitar.
No.
I thought it was make her a guitar, but
I want to make her a guitar. She can't use it. Ungrateful. All right, Warren, are you ready?
Yes,
all right.
Absolutely.
Thanks, everybody. I think next week is an off week, but here, let me check the schedule before I
think you're right.
Were we really on this week?
Oh, yeah.
We were on.
For sure.
Okay.
Yeah, next week there is, we are off, but the 25th we'll be back, but I don't know who the guest is, so I apologize.
Ryan Geis.
What's that?
Ryan Geis?
Ryan Geis? Yeah. Where are they from?
Ohio.
Cincinnati, right?
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Honestly, I have no idea.
Great brewery, great people.
Really?
Yeah.
Cool. I can't wait. Sounds good. Do we have beer for that? How do you know that? Then I don't know.
It's on
that.
the website.
Something about you.
We've got the next 4 or 5 episodes there.
Huh. I should use the internet more than porn. All right.
No.
Nah.
Not
much more.
No.
Yeah.
All right.
Speaking of that, have you watched any VR porn?
No, I don't have a VR headset.
Google Cardboard is $15.
All right. All right, we're leaving now for the third time. All right, Warren, you ready?
I'm
Here
still
we go.
ready.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you to your show sponsor, More Beer. You can get absolutely everything you need to make great beer at home by going to morebeer.com. Colin from Downtown Joe's was here push-truting all of his big words and thinks on enzymes, water, and gliders. Merge your love of Disneyland with your lack of engaging podcasts and go to earsuppodcast.com as JP, Terrence, Bevo, and Taryn talk about all things Disney. Go check out Moscow's Hop cartoons over at hoplife.com. Get on Twitter for some good beer insight and homebrew info. Follow Nathan Smith at Nathan Homebrew and Tasty McDole at Tasty McD. And Warren's adding to the noise over at Another Beardy. Today's show was produced. Bevo got us sandwiches, and your host was JP. Be sure to find the Brewing Network on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
JP's an asshole. Justin's a nice guy and winning.